coming to you live with a full stomach of tacos, George Hamill and Cody Sanders. This is The Dirt Life Show.
Yeah. We got episode 7 of The Dirt Life Show. We got this episode dedicated to Moto. We got Justin McMurrich in the studio.
Hey,
Justin, how's everything going today?
It's going good, man. Not too bad.
Right on, man. We got Casey Peck in the studio.
How's it going, everybody?
And, like I said, we're dedicating this all to Moto. And I think Moto is a really important piece of all of our lives. And, it's just really cool. It's cool for us to revisit all of these good memories. We were talking before the show how much fun we all had racing on mini bikes and 125s and 250s all the way up to Supercross. And we're going to even be able to talk to one of my childhood heroes, a guy that you said you despised a little bit because he was so fast.
No,
David Pingree.
He beat me pretty good for a long time.
Let's talk a little louder, Justin. Let's introduce yourself, Justin.
I'm Justin McMurrich. Been playing around in the dirt life since I was a little kid. Started racing dirt bikes in the 80s and turned pro in 93. And did it as long and as hard as I could.
Well, you were definitely somebody that I looked up to. I didn't start riding until 1989. That's when I got my first dirt bike, and you had already had a couple years under your belt at that time. And I remember going out to the track, like, before I even got the dirt bike, my dad was like, okay, well, we got to show him what it's about. So just, like, if he gets scared, maybe he's going to be like a pussy and he doesn't want to race, you know? So they showed, and I saw you guys cruising around the track, you and a couple of other fast guys. And I was like, dude, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is so fast. Like, and your style, you always had the nose down. You were like, it was just so cool to see. Like, especially for a little kid that, like, just listening to the dirt bikes and just like, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing.
You know what I always remember is your graphics and your numbers. The bike was just always perfect. And, Pops is out there with the little pump-up sprayer. I remember all that. And
right.
Same thing. I had the same want and desire to know that guy and come up the same way.
I think it's you. If you really care about something, there's a passion that you have for it. And I think looking good makes you feel good, makes you ride
that
good.
whole Nick Way vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot said behind that. I mean,
Yep.
If you look horrible, sometimes you don't look so good.
There really is. Like, and I always used to tell everybody that, like, when I moved into the side-by-side racing stuff, off-road isn't the same as dirt bikes. Dirt bikes is all about cool factor, right? And off-road isn't. It's just about, like, just a whole bunch of shit thrown together, kind of. You know what I mean? Yeah. And making sure that you can get on the trail and go out and do whatever. But I was like, no, I'm not going to I'm going to bring the cool like, I want to bring, like, cool shit to off-road racing. I want to make it look cool. I want it to be more moto. And dudes like Jesse Nelson are doing that now with, like, cool moto number plates on their side-by-sides and stuff. Like, I love that vibe.
Oh,
and
it looks great. I think it looks fantastic.
Well, you started that for us. By having all that cool shit. Like, it was like, dude, like, we really want to be as fast as him. We want to look as cool as him. So, when did you start riding? Like, what?
So I started riding when I was around 3. I remember my dad I had a little CR500, and my dad used to jog down the wash with me because he wouldn't let me ride alone.
Really?
So my dad used to jog up and down the wash when I was a little kid. So, yeah, I started riding when I was 3, and I fell in love with it right away. It's what I always wanted to do, and hard to explain. It was just something that this is what I love, and still to this day, at my age I am now.
I don't think it's hard to explain for us, but, like,
right.
Maybe some of the people that don't know, like, if they're just wanting to get into dirt bikes and stuff
right.
like that. But tell us how it taught you stuff, because I know that your dad wasn't going to give you an easy ride. I know your dad well, and
right.
he was going to make you work for it.
Oh, for sure. So I did all my own maintenance for a long, long time. My dad would help, but you have to learn how to organize stuff. You have to learn how to be on time. You have to learn how to
work on shit.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is, if you show up late to a race, they're not going to hold for you.
Yeah.
The
space shuttle's taken off. Yeah. Astronauts on board.
I remember we were going to Paris Raceway, one of my very first times. This is in the late 80s, and we pull up and I see this start go off. It's my practice, and my dad's like, "Well, probably should have got up a little earlier." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah, got it. And I don't think I was ever late to another event, to be honest. So
that's awesome.
That's how you learn, man.
Yeah, so trial by fire kind of thing. one of the things that I thought was so cool, and I know that Casey, because I grew up next to Casey, and one of the things that we had a very, I don't want to say it was a hard time, but it was like, again, like a trial by fire thing, was like, I thought a dirt bike just goes, right?
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah, like a little kid.
The whole football team thinks that the dirt bike just, right?
Yeah.
Oh, why is it
then
hard? You just sit there and turn the throttle. I'm like,
Exactly.
And then I'm like, oh, fuck, you got to fill this thing with gas. Oh, shit, you got to put air in the tires. And then I started realizing, like, this thing's a lot of work, dude. You got to repair the motor. You got to put chain,
Yeah,
like, all this
there's
stuff.
a lot.
And that trial by fire thing is, like, we've all been through it. And I remember he used to teach me so much stuff. Like, he'd have his bike apart in the garage, and I'd have to, like, look at it, and I'd be like, what's this? What's this? Like, how does this work?
Right.
And I'm sure you had to go through that. Did your dad help you with it?
Yeah, my dad used to do my top ends for me, but he
Teaching you?
He made sure I was with him. You know what I mean? Like, we did them together. 9 times out of 10, I was in the garage with him, and we were both doing stuff together. And that's kind of how I learned, was watching my dad. So it just worked out.
How does that translate into you have a very good family now?
Yeah.
You got 2 boys, a
I've
girl,
got
and
a wife and 3 kids, and been married since '97. So.
and how does that translate into what you do with your kids?
Well, so that's a tough one.
It's different, right?
It is different.
Yeah.
So all 3 of my kids are completely different. My daughter, she's up in ASU right now, and she is the most organized. She's a little OCD like I am, you might say. But my middle boy is very, very mellow. He's not hard to deal with, and my youngest is probably me.
Yeah. Wild child kind of guy?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But you love them all the same, just different ways, and you try to keep them out of trouble the best you can. So it's tough.
I think what you're getting at, if you don't mind me butting in,
Yeah.
is I was just talking about this the other day. The time when my dad let me set sail, and he was going to give me a year to. He's going to pay for everything. I'm not working. I'm just going to go after this dream. And when I think back, I think, man, at the pinnacle, I didn't go anywhere near what some of the guys did yourself, but getting to that point and he wasn't there was a bummer, but he was doing it for me.
Right. Sure.
But as I reflect back, there's so many weekends that I would never trade for a second. I'm sure it's the same way, George, where you think about those, you had a loss or a hurt or a break or whatever, and that long drive home, those lessons that Dad was teaching you didn't really realize it at the time, but I think back now, and I think what you're getting at is I wish I could give that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
And I think we do in our own way, having kids is you do the best you can, but I kind of somehow wish that I could do the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like we were talking about. So my 3 different kids. My one son plays golf.
Right.
So I'm proud of him. He's a great golfer. My other kid races mountain bikes. My daughter's up in college. So it's like you try to give them a little piece of you. You know what I mean? So they can take it with them on life, and that's all really they can do. You just raise them the best you can. And
I think it's so cool to hear those things. Like, for me personally, like, I don't have children like you guys, but I really like to hear those genuine focus stories of, how do you even say it? Like, just a lot of effort given back to the kids because of what you were focused on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You're not a helicopter parent, but you're also not a parent that just lets them sit on an iPad.
Right. No,
You know what I mean?
no.
Like, as much as that might help them in certain situations, if the kid's going to be a computer scientist or something when he grows up, he needs to be that. But the dad maybe, levels it or does whatever. But there's a big, I don't know, disconnect, in my opinion, just my opinion, and some people might say otherwise, of people not being able to focus enough of their life on their children. I got to go to work.
Right.
I'm going to go out with my friends. Can somebody else do but you guys aren't like that. You learned from a young age that that's not the way to do it.
Well, it's almost like you're saying, it's all about the dirt life. We were outside, riding our dirt bikes our whole lives. Since I was a little kid growing up to a
You didn't have a dirt bike track or a bicycle track to go to. You built your own.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We did. And actually, Casey had one in his front yard. Went there many times.
Yeah. And so those kinds of things are really like stepping stones for the rest of your life, because now you know that if it doesn't exist, you have to build it. And one of the things that I've learned in all these recovery processes, we'll get into both your guys' stories, but we actually just talked about it. I'm trying to be my own doctor. I don't have a guy that's looking over me to be like, hey, we can go do this. Here's another idea. Here's this that we can go do. Like, I got to be my own doctor, and I go pick and choose all these people to see, and half of them don't know shit. Right. So it's like, okay, finally I'll find one doctor that can help me, but that's not what you're teaching. Like, you're teaching you have to control everything. You can make everything better for yourself, and you're showing them that. I mean, that is so fantastic. Like, whether you guys realize what you're doing on a daily basis or not, it is freaking awesome.
You're still giving those same lessons that Pops was giving me, Correct. On the ride home.
Just
from
in a different way.
From the track.
Yeah.
It's just different. Whether it's helping with homework or,
right.
Whatever it is.
We're showing these children how to take charge of their own lives without they have our help. They'll always have our help.
Right.
We need
Absolutely.
you need to make your own path, and you need to follow it.
And that's where I like to usually start off the shows. Is I like to start them by saying that the Dirt Life does really teach a genuine capacity for growing up, for teaching children, for loving, for creating new things, for managing things in your life, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of hard for people that didn't grow up the same way we did, but I'd like to share that. I really do, because it's made a huge impact on all of our lives.
It even affects the way I dress to this day. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I mean, how often did we wear gear that didn't match? Or,
right. I'm never, right?
Yeah, it just if that,
look at that guy.
Yeah, he's not even wearing the same brand.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So it really, surprisingly, does a lot for you.
It really does. And like I said, it just teaches you so much. But so one of the things that I wanted to do was, before we get into all of our topics and stuff and thanking our sponsors and everything, I really wanted to thank both of you guys for coming in. First of all, you guys both have busy lives, jobs, working at the fire department,
Yep.
working at Sturgeon, and all these different things that you guys have to do with your family, taking time away from them. And you guys have both been super inspiring to me personally because of what you guys have been through. Not just because you're fast dirt bike riders,
Right.
but seeing things that happen in life, like, it's going to make me cry. I take a lot of pride in having friends that can push through these kinds of things.
Sure.
You will get into it later, but about with cancer.
Yeah.
Like laying on your deathbed, but overcoming it because you love your family so much, because you won't give up. Your willpower is so strong that you're not going to die. Yeah. Whether you have that option or not, you're never going to think like that, ever.
It was
Casey had his head cut open for brain surgeries and stuff. Like, having your families have to go through that kind of stuff, it really shows the strength in a person and how much they love life. Mm-hmm. For real. And it really gets me teared up, and like, I'm happy to have you guys here big time. Also this guy too. I kind of want to murder that thing and ride it around.
Well, the feeling's mutual, if I can step in there for a sec, George. I've known you forever as well, and it's been a tough road here for you for a little while. I mean, quite a while. And man, you inspire so many people with picking it up, pulling up your pants, and doing the best you can. So hats off, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'm proud of you.
Well, the show's not about me. It's about you guys. But, maybe one of these days you guys can interview me for the show or something.
We'll do that
for you. The show is about you guys. And it still, to this day, shows how much strength you guys have, because you guys both still give back. Like, to your families, to friends. We got a cool story about selling a bike, the road to recovery, like all kinds of badass stuff, man. Donating to the fire department. And you personally, Justin, you give back every day. Like, you fight for people every day. So I definitely want to get into all that stuff. Before we talk about all the details, let's thank some of our sponsors. So we have a great group of sponsors. And before we thank the sponsors, I want to thank the audience. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's tuning in, we really, really love you guys. Like, you guys are making this show kick some serious ass. Last show was our biggest show. We shared it on a bunch of social media platforms, and Caden Danbury, he did a great job. He's a little kid, 11 years old. He's growing up the dirt life. So one of these days, he's going to be working for one of those big old off-road teams, and he's going to have fun stories like us to talk about later. Maybe not on 2 wheels, maybe it's on 4 wheels, but it's really cool to see that dirt life come to fruition for a little kid. You know what I mean? And his parents are doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Teaching kids the same way. So we really love that, and we appreciate Caden being on the show, and we appreciate you guys watching so much. So share it with your friends. Share it on your social media right now. Just pass it around. Get more people to watch the show. We want to thank our sponsors as much as possible by giving them the biggest audience that we can. Solder Weld is one of our sponsors. They've started giving away off-road kits. They can repair your ride. They've got some really badass products. If you didn't see our last show, go check it out. They got a product review on there. We got Fuel Wheels. They make some really, really cool stuff. They have some new cool stuff coming out for 2020. They are just a badass company, man. I don't know if you've ever seen their wheels, Justin, but they make some rad truck wheels.
Yeah, they're pretty tricky.
They make some rad UTV wheels. Yep. And they're a big company with a great heart. So Shock Therapy, those guys do amazing shock work. They can do all your side-by-side needs. And, yeah, man, they just have so much experience. Rigid Industries, they're just a great company, too. The head of marketing over there, Brett Carpenter, he's got a special piece of my heart for the rest of my life. He pretty much saved my life. So, yeah, so he's always going to be a good buddy of mine. And we're going to get tacos soon, too. So that's cool. And Zollinger Racing Products, they make bitchin' radius rods and all kinds of cool stuff for side-by-sides. They have, I talk about it every show, man. They have all the cool CNC equipment. So everything that comes out of there is like a freaking diamond ring for us boys, you know? So thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate them very much. The show wouldn't happen without them. And like I said, the audience, we love you guys. So, Justin, tell us about your motocross career.
Well, like I was saying, I started riding when I was really young. It didn't take me long to be like, this is what, I'm a kid. I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. How cool is this?
Right. This is the coolest thing. And On Any Sunday had a lot to do with it. Remember that old movie On Any Sunday?
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
That was such a great movie.
Yeah. Chime in if you've seen the movie On Any Sunday.
Oh, gosh. That movie's still a classic. But so for whatever reason, I just felt like that was what I wanted to do. I mean, I played a lot of other sports as a kid and stuff like that. But my heart was in moto. And once I realized that I could be...
What was one of the things that attracted you to it?
Honestly, I always wanted to do it since I was a little kid.
Was it like an adrenaline rush or something, or was it just like a cool factor?
I think it's still to this day, when I ride, I'm just happy. It makes me happy to be on a bike.
Did you see somebody, did you go out to a local motocross track and it's like we saw you?
Funny story is I excuse me, I started watching Moto. It was hard to watch on TV in the 80s, right? But I remember watching David Bailey.
Yeah.
And that dude...
So for people that don't know that are side by side, David Bailey was Honda factory
Honda
Supercross champion.
And
Super Bowl of motocross.
Yes,
oh, that what it was?
Yes,
it was on, ABC or
that
something.
Was it. And he was just watching that guy. He was like, he was gliding. And I was like, man, I said, that's what I want to do.
Oh, okay.
So he was the first guy that inspired me. And then sadly enough, in late 86, he broke his back and was paralyzed. And I was like, oh, no. You know what I mean? And I was just starting to race. So I was really getting into it. And
did that give you a reality check?
A little bit, yeah. My dad was like, uh-oh. You know what I mean?
This could happen.
Yeah, this is, we know the possibilities. It's just not the safest thing on the planet. But he still supported me, and we just kept going and kept trucking along. And once I started winning locally, I realized I was like, okay, I might be able to do this.
Yeah. And
then you make the trek to California and do some of the big amateur nationals, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, well, California has a much bigger, faster, racing circuits and stuff like that.
Almost like winning the novice class in Arizona was not winning the novice class in California.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So they're almost like a step ahead kind of thing. Like it would be like, I don't know, ARCA compared to NASCAR or something, like a stepping stone. Yeah.
That's a good reference, actually. So once I realized that, I went after it, pretty much stopped playing all other sports and focused on riding, and just got a lot of support, a lot of help. My dad was working like 3 jobs, so I could travel over the country to race. It was crazy.
But you were making sure you were doing your part, working out and being strong and doing all that stuff?
Absolutely. And you get injuries, and it's just rough. We've all had them. You've had them, obviously, and it's like, dude, there's a lot that goes along with it. So you've
broken a lot of bumps. Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. Like I actually posted some on social media, but I've broken every single bone in my body except for this one.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Let's keep that one.
That's crazy.
Nice
Yeah. Keep that one strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember getting the call after you ate shit at Glen Helen that one time. You've been jacked up a few times.
Yeah, that was a big one. That I think back now to my career, I think that was probably what ended my mentally ended my career in moto. That was my window shutting in my face, I think. I literally we just got back from Ponca City, which is a big amateur national, and I did really well up there, and everything was going the right direction.
Yeah. Like sponsors seeking you and stuff?
Yeah, it was. I finally felt like I had made it, and then I got hurt really bad, and I think that once I was knocked out for a few days, and once I woke up, it seemed like everybody knew, and I was already on my way out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is really tough about the motocross industry is you're only as good as last weekend's results.
That's the truth.
And if you're laying in a bed,
right.
that's not doing you any good. And I mean, it's fucked up to say, but it's the truth.
It's true.
And off-road racing is kind of the same way too. You know, you get kind of tossed around like that, but you also have to understand when you're a business making money, they need somebody to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. Like there's just no way around it. I mean, what are they going to do? Support somebody that's not going to help the company? No, they can't do it. It's just not feasible. So I still thought that you were going to have a little bit of life left in you after that for the motocross career, but you think it was...
I fought and held on as long as I could.
Yeah.
I raced far into I raced in the 2000s. I actually did Supercross in 2003, I think. So I hung on as long as I could, like physically, emotionally. The problem is that's all I really knew, and that's what happens to a lot of these young guys who are kind of spoon-fed through the sport, and then they find out that they're not going to make it, and they don't have anything to fall back on. So I'm super grateful to do what I do for a living because,
Well, before we get into the firefighting stuff, so you made it really far in your motocross and Supercross racing career, and you made good money. At the time, they were paying good contingency. They were paying payouts for pro wins and stuff. You were on the bike a lot. You were racing a lot, and you were winning a lot. So what was some of the highlights of the stuff that you did?
I can honestly say it's funny. Is some of the highlights, it's not even results at big races. I can remember some certain rides that it just went perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't even necessarily win on those particular rides, but there are some that really jump out. Like I did the San Diego Supercross in '96, and my grandfather had just passed away, and I missed his funeral, like all that stuff, so I could go to San Diego. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget that it was hard for me to do that, but at the same time, he really supported me, so it was cool.
Yeah, he wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
No, and I did get to say goodbye to him. I was the last person that he actually spoke to, so it was kind of special that way. But at the same time, here I am, trying to. At that time, that was when my career was going the right direction. You know what I mean? So, that's probably one race that really stands out for me. And I actually rode really well that night too. So, I think back, maybe he was helping me out a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of those things that Casey and I always talk about. That there's somebody looking like giving you a little bit extra. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, Justin, those injuries, if you don't mind, George too. We were just talking about, hey, somebody gets hurt, and somehow you have that switch that you turn off, right? Mm-hmm. We all could do that. And it's like it's a knocking at the door. And as you're doing well and you finish on a weekend like that, that noise silences, right? And then you have another bad one and it's knocking a little harder. And then it just seems like it gets to that point where we all have that where the door's really being, where you finally go, and it hurts because you just want to ride that thing. Two wheels, dirt, that's all you've wanted to do your whole life. And you finally listen.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Probably the toughest thing that all three of us have ever had to do, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is, and you want to do it. And it's funny that you say that too, because there's a lot of guys that I talk to that are older, and like the old with the age comes a cage kind of thing, and they go into that. And the funny thing is I don't know that it's always injuries. Like sometimes I think it's other things.
Right.
I think it's financial. Some people are just like, "Fuck it, I'm not going to spend any more money." Like I don't want to, I don't want to break the bank. I got to kids to support, whatever it is. Right. And so there's all kinds of different little things. But when you do have so many things that are kind of in your ear to quit, so to speak, or to stop doing it, I think it's that much harder because it's like a teeter-totter or an hourglass. Like, how do I keep this thing full from it's so
hanging on.
Did you still hang on quite a bit then?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was tough for me. My dad and I actually started a business. We were doing kind of track support stuff. So me thinking we would have weekends when that time I could ride pro and vet pro, which both paid.
Yeah, it makes
And then
money.
we had our business and we were selling parts and accessories and stuff. But we'd have some fantastic weekends. I'm like, man, this is
we could do this in a different capacity.
And then, then you get hurt and you make no money riding, which you don't realize how much it helps until there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And then you have a bad day of sales or a bad weekend of sales or whatever, and it's just like, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh damn,
Shit. Yeah.
I mean,
Reality
this is real.
Yep.
And when I realized it was time to stop, we were actually at the World Mini. It was me.
And that's another amateur national with a lot of people.
I'm sorry, guys.
Big race.
Big amateur national in Las Vegas. We're in the middle of World Mini, and my wife tells me that she's pregnant. She didn't want to tell me.
Really?
Yeah.
You were in your zone or
No,
what?
I kind of dragged it out of her, but I found out that my wife's pregnant, and I'm like, what a reality check. And I was thinking, I can't raise a kid on an income like this, so it was just time to grow up real fast. You know what I mean? And that's the way it kind of hit me. So, and then again, I'm stepping back. I'm like, okay, what do I do? I don't have anything. What do I do? So it was tough.
Yeah,
you know,
it makes
like,
sense.
You became an electrician. You know what I mean? But it's like, for me, same kind of thing. I had to find something that I wanted to do, and
Right.
it's tough to
I think that harsh reality finally sets in, whether it's your plan, God's plan, whatever it is.
Right.
And you're like, shoot, I got to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, and because just like you said, I mean, since we're, 12 years old or whatever, every new magazine, we're racing to the stand to get the new one. Don't Crinkle, that's my new magazine. I mean, that's how I was with those things.
Yeah.
You wanted to look at the new bikes and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's really not that different if you think about it of what you go through later in life, which is kind of what you're.
Yeah.
It's what you're getting at, really. It's all of a sudden you get that call. I got the call, and everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the lead-in is not that like you don't have to change. Like people are so people don't change. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you're going down a path and you're going to stay on that path, but you can adjust.
Right.
And we've all adjusted our whole lives. You adjust every corner. A rut gets blown out. You adjust the next lap. You don't
Right.
look back. You
Right,
always
right.
look forward. Right.
Right. Never look back.
So you're not looking in the mirror. You're just going forward and you're adjusting. And those dirt life qualities that we've been raised on make a big difference in those things. So that's kind of where I was leading, is like, what made you adjust into what you're doing now, being a firefighter?
I think it's the same kind of discipline. It's like you have to go after something. You got to be like, all right, this is what I want to do.
A firefighter is not a
Yeah.
trait to be a slouch, though,
Right.
dude.
You got to focus. And I can tell, honestly, probably the two hardest things I ever did in my life, other than being a father, was turning pro on a dirt bike and getting in the fire service.
They're both kind of the same.
They're
You
both
mean
very,
like they
very
both
hard.
kick in the ass? Like
Yeah, it was hard. And it didn't happen for me right away. I got guys I work with. They made it the first time they
I
tested.
remember it was quite like you had to put in a lot of work to get in there,
Oh, for sure.
and you also have to wait too, right?
Well, yeah, and every hiring process is different to a certain extent. Like some departments hire every year, some departments hire every other year. And to me, I didn't care what my shirt said on the back. I just wanted to get in the fire service. So I tested anywhere and everywhere.
Did you know what it was going to be like when you went in there, or did you just?
I had a pretty good idea. We all know, Ron Watmore, and I did a couple ride-alongs with him. And he worked for the city, Tucson Fire Department. So I did a couple ride-alongs with him, and I really, really enjoyed
Like
it.
an apprenticeship kind of thing?
Yeah, you can ride along. Basically, you have to sign all the paperwork and stuff, but you ride along and you just watch.
Okay.
So you go into the calls with them and you watch how they do their job, and it was fascinating.
That's cool. So it really intrigued you.
Absolutely.
That was probably a good transitionary person, though, because he raced, too. So for people that don't know, Ron Watmore is a dirt bike racer, and he's also a fireman. So that was
Retired.
probably a good thing that you went with him instead of just a guy that didn't, because then he wouldn't have that same relation to you, and it may have been a little bit less intriguing to you to be a fireman.
He was actually, and Ron's he actually was helping me out on my riding side of things as well. When I started racing in the 80s, he was the guy.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that he helped you then.
Yeah, it was cool.
Dude, Ron is the perfect epitome of the dirt life then.
Absolutely.
Like, he's giving back too.
He's still riding.
And he's helping you too. Like
Yeah.
when he's helping other people get into doing something that they love. That's pretty bitchin', man. That's cool to hear. And you kind of had the same story with your, shifting gears, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. I guess for me it was a series of injuries, and you're always, you got that next one coming and whatever. And for me it was Anaheim, and did okay first time out. It was a good deal.
I was there.
Next one, yeah, it was awesome. I had to borrow you gave me your gear to borrow.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Ripped my pants off. That's another story. But I think got injured and said, you know what, it's time to fix that knee that I've been putting off for
remember that.
3 years or whatever. And surgeries weren't like they are now. That's like a 12-month thing. It's kind of a career thing.
Yeah.
And came back, or actually didn't really ever come back from that, and met my wife during that time, and
Adjusted.
Yeah, adjusted. And this is where I'm at. It's where I'm supposed to be.
What made you want to get into that career, though?
So,
well, you're not in an electrician position, but at the time,
yeah. So project manager, but coming up through being an electrician and learning the trade from pretty young. I used to help friends of the family that had a business, and oddly enough, I actually work with Ramey Bortmus right now.
Yeah.
Ramey Joe Bortmus. Anyways, that was it just seemed right. Like it was just the right time. It was.
But you learned a lot working on the dirt bikes that led into that same thing. That could probably be
discipline,
yeah.
Yeah, discipline, and it's so funny that I keep having this picture of remember the ratio, right?
Yep.
So with the two strokes,
a ratio, right, is a device like a cup that measures oil, and it's got little gauges on the
right,
side.
Put your premix in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day, us old timers that rode two strokes, not just because they're nostalgia, right? Like everybody
Because that's
now.
what we
Dude,
had.
they're like the baddest thing. Look at this freaking guy right
It's so
here.
awesome, but it's all those little stupid little OCD things, like you said, and
For sure.
it's because they all add up. The perfect amount of chain slack, because when you land, it's going to tighten the suspension a little bit. All of that goes in, and what that translated to is for sure, an OCD need for, like, that receptacle's not perfect right now, and it's kind of bugging me. You know what I mean? So just it really went to that trade, and I would say for Justin, it's probably the same thing. I don't want to put words.
But that probably gives you a little bit of an edge against other people that have that want that same job.
Right. I think so. And again, I'm picking on Justin here, but my guess is that you guys get a call and you're on your way. There's trouble and you're going towards it.
Yep.
Like, that's different.
That is
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I know that had to come from, I got a broken ankle and now I got to tape it up because I got to race this weekend because it's a series race or whatever. You know what I mean?
Every call we run is different, and that's how you got to kind of put it in your mindset. Is when people call us, they're in their worst place. You know what I mean?
They got no other way to go.
Right. They're scared because they're having chest pain or because they can't breathe or, whatever it is. We're
Genuinely
showing
help,
up, and that's our job to help them. So there's actually it's quite a refreshing profession, you might say, to help people.
Yeah,
Rewarding, I would say, probably,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
that is really cool. And there's very, very few people that can handle that type of pressure. And so the guys that you work with, you see it every day. So you're around dudes. You're probably fucking around at the fire station and all that, whatever you guys do. But there's a very, very professional and level of confidence that every single one of your coworkers has that you have to trust in them, just like in the armed forces.
Oh, for
like
sure.
the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because like Casey said, you're literally walking into the fire.
Right. We don't fight as many fires as thank goodness, because sometimes it's pretty scary stuff. But at the same time, you do have to trust the people that are on your truck. You need to be like, this guy's got my back. I've got his.
And after working with them for a while, you probably get to the point where they're like teammates, so to speak. You go in there and you see a older lady in distress or whatever it is, and you can all just be like boom, 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 and you work.
Right. Once you figure out how the guys on your truck work, it actually makes it a lot smoother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I would say a little bit of a downfall to how we come up with exactly that mindset that I was just describing is now you have this drive and want to be the best at it. You're going to be the best at it. So it's been hard for me. I mean, it's been a long time. I've been doing this, 20 some odd years now, a long time, my trade. And it's hard to still not want to do it the best. I mean, I still want to do it the best, but I'm now expecting I have to rely on others now to do it perfect for me. Whereas before it was all us. You know what I mean? We were doing all that maintenance to make everything perfect. The next time we got up to the gate, that is not in our head. The machine is not in the head. It's all on me now to go at it and attack the track. So that's been a hard adjustment, and that's still.
That's a good point to bring up too. Is like, and this happens a lot with everybody too. Like, a person bringing their car to an automotive shop, they have a expectation that the shop is going to fix it and give it back. If something's wrong that the shop's never seen, they might not be able to fix it. So their expectation level needs to be adjusted. People in relationships, they have a certain expectation of their significant other. Well, you got to adjust that level of expectations. And in the workforce too, you have employees or you have a team, their expectations are not going to be the same as yours.
Right. And it's why we have troubles with doctors.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Right. Where you trust them because they're the pro and they've had, the as much training as they can get, but at the same time, do they really have the want and desire that I do for that situation?
Yeah, they're not used to it. They don't. Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. Well, so you got into the fire department, and you still kind of rode. You know, you went, you know, with you had your sons ride a little bit and stuff like that, and you still get out on the bike.
Yeah, I try to get out about once a week if I can, once or twice a week if I can.
You get enough time off with the department to be able to do that?
Yeah, our schedule really allows that, which is one of the cooler things about the job as well is the time that we have off, I was able to really help with raising my children too.
Yeah.
It's huge. But it also gives you free time to ride and do things like that, which obviously I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. Yeah, and there's there's a lot of guys that can go riding at night to the tracks and stuff nowadays.
Right.
You know, like when we were growing up, there wasn't tracks to go at night and stuff, so it was a little bit harder. But so you still rode, and you kind of had, I don't know, family life obviously takes over 90% of your time, but you still had the ambition and want to ride, but unfortunately you were, you know, dealt an illness.
Yeah,
And this is one of the biggest things that I'm proud of you for. You're always been a badass rider, but fuck, man, this illness really got you.
So, just take a couple steps back. The riding part of it, all I really wanted to do was ride, but there's an organization called Fire Police Motocross that I started doing that you have to be a civil servant to ride in this series. Mm-hmm. And the guy that runs it, his name's Ed Wilson. It's a great series, and if there's any firefighters or civil servants out there and you ride dirt bikes.
Yeah, one just chimed in, said her brother's a fireman.
Yeah, let's get them out there. We need some people. It's a fantastic series. I would kind of relate it to doing the vet.
Where is it at? Is it in California? Or?
This we got rounds 2 and 3 coming up at Gwen Helen.
Okay, so it's in Southern California.
Correct.
And
but
you have to be a serviceman?
you have to be a civil servant. So that means you can be in the Border Patrol, you can be in the Armed Services, you can be a fireman, a policeman.
Dude, there's a shitload of guys that race dirt bikes or ride dirt bikes.
For real.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And it's so mellow and so great that there's no way you're not going to leave with a smile.
And we tagged Justin in some of our social media posts too. So if you guys are interested, definitely just hit him up on the messages and go out to those races. Because those races, I'd like to go check those things out,
They're
man.
super fun.
And
you don't have to be a fireman or a cop. They have a support class too. So like I got a buddy going with me this coming weekend or this Monday, Tuesday, and he's just going to ride. He's going to ride the support class.
And it's probably way different than going to I'm going to kick your ass professional race because they're all everybody's buddies, right?
It's
super
not
fun time.
You're not going to see guys cleaning guys out for a
That's awesome,
for a
dude.
trophy. It just doesn't happen.
So that sounds a little different than how, like, I'm remembering Ron. I think we all looked up to Ron Watmore. That was somebody that taught me as well. The guy's just a fantastic guy.
Yeah, great dude.
But I always remember him going out to the police and fire,
Did
and
him
he
as
was
well.
such a, he was the guy, I think, forever. But I don't think there was any other involvement. It was you were either fire and police, and that's it.
Oh, well, I think the civil servant thing's been that way for quite a while because, I mean, the Border Patrol, like I said, that's you're not a policeman or fireman, but you're in the Border Patrol.
But this one has a support class now too. You're saying.
So yeah, the support
That's
class
cool.
is just there to collect people, and you'd be surprised a lot of locals will show up on a Monday and a Tuesday and want to race.
Cool.
So you get some legit guys showing up out there, like, oh damn.
Well, dude, you can
pretty
still
cool.
ride a motorcycle pretty fast, man.
Especially that big beast.
for a few laps.
Before we start talking about this beast, because this is an exciting
we're
beast
talking
right
about
here.
cancer.
Well, talk about it as much as you want. Like, I know some of these things can get you a little teary-eyed, but
Right.
I'm telling you, man, this is no joke. Like,
No, it wasn't.
you are amazing for surviving this.
I think I was blessed to survive it, to be honest, because there's a lot of people that didn't have what I have that have passed away. So when I think of it like that, I think there's a reason why I'm still here, because to make a long story short, I ended up getting cancer in my jaw. It was called a malignant peripheral nerve sheath sarcoma, which, I mean, sounds like Spanish to me too. I don't really, but I had to remember that because that's what I had. But come to find out that there's a nerve canal in your jaw, and I got a malignant tumor in that. And it started out really tiny, like the size of a pea when they found it originally. But by the time I got to Houston, which is like, MD Anderson's like the best hospital facility for cancer, they say, in the country. And I'll have to say that that's true because I'm still here talking to you guys because of them. But
Yeah, and that's where you went.
correct.
Okay.
So went to Houston, and by the time I got there and they did another scan on my face, that tumor went from the size of a pea to fill up this whole nerve canal. and they
Was your cheek all puffy too, like you could physically see it?
it wasn't it just didn't work. Like this whole side of my mouth was numb.
Well, nerves are nerves, yeah.
Right. So you could see there was something going on. But the scary thing is I was in my early 40s and I felt like I was in really good shape and blah blah blah. And this doctor tells me that I have a stage 4 cancer and I've got.
You were also saying that your life was going to plan, so to speak. You were really happy with your family. You were happy with the way things were going. It was like, hallelujah, I got the good life going.
Like literally just talking to my wife and saying that life doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got the best life, the best wife, the best family. We just moved into our new home. It was just and then,
great, yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're getting smacked across the face with cancer and it's like, uh-oh. Talk about a reality check. And they gave me a 10% chance to survive, which was horrifying. And
10% is basically like writing your own check. Like that's like, no, sorry, dude.
Yeah, it was because of how aggressive it was and just scary, just period. I mean, it's hard to explain, but when you think you're going to pass away, it's just...
Or when you don't know.
Or you don't know.
Yeah.
It just reprioritizes everything.
Yep, everything.
Things that were so important to you before are not important to you now. And the worst thing, you just don't want to lose your family.
Yep. So. Absolutely. You want to stay around for them. And plus, you're such a loyal, family guy. Like, I can only imagine how hard it was for you. And the reason I want you to share your story is because it's motivating, dude. Like, it shows a lot of people that have illnesses, whether it's cancer, whether it's diabetes, whatever it is, even if it's some sort of mental thing. It really shows that you can try your hardest and push through.
Oh, dude, it was rough. I can't even tell you guys how many times I bawled my eyes out, and my wife as well. So it was rough, man. Hardest thing I've ever been through.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
a motocross race is cupcakes compared to this.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at my life and things that were so important. Like I said, that's like childish to me.
Yeah.
And
in case he can, kind of go to the same thing too, because he's had some brain surgeries and stuff. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's only similar in the fact that when you find out, right, everything's going good, you're doing your thing, everything, whatever, and then for me, I had a great doctor that was like a touchy, I don't want to say it like that, but an old school doctor. I mean, this guy's like, checking your old school, not just immediately throwing medicine at you. So he's listening like, oh, you're a little dizzy, huh? So he sends me out and MRI, and we were talking about that earlier before the show, and you're in that tube, and after you're going through this, you're just these thoughts of, I mean, this is where, if you're a spiritual guy, this is where you got to be.
Honestly, even if you're not spiritual, you're praying.
But absolutely, right? I mean,
you're praying for something.
Right, like they say in a war, there's no atheist in a foxhole, right? That's what they say. So for me, I was already a faithful guy, and just the news, like I said, you get the news, you just know something's not right. And the news immediately to me was, okay, this is me, but I got these babies at home.
Yeah.
And
your kids were real young.
Who's going to take care of my wife? And all of a sudden, like you said, everything changes. And
but I don't even want to say it's fight or flight, because it's really not. It's that winning mentality, I feel like, that comes in. Like, if I fall down in the first turn, I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight as hard as I can to get up to the front. The front of the pack. Like, I'm not going to stop. I still have to go.
You're going to go down swinging. Is what you're saying. You're not just going to roll over because you have an illness or something.
And both of you guys had that same sense kick in, right?
Yeah, definitely. And again, for me, you find out, okay, there's a tumor, and if you don't get rid of it, it's going to be bad at some point. It's going to shut stuff off, and here we go. So now all of a sudden, if you're screwed up like me, you start Googling everything, right? Major praying about this. Show me the right doctor. And this goes to kind of what you're saying with, hey, where's this? How come I can't get the right doctor? Yeah. So same thing. I'm praying about this so hard, and I'm trying to find the doctor. This is so rare. It's 2% of all brain tumors every year. So very rare. So you go see all the specialists. We're in Tucson. So how many specialists can there really be? But you trust your doctor.
I got to go outside of the city to get my stuff.
Yeah, and it's not a derogatory statement. It's just we're small. We're smaller
compared
than
to
Phoenix.
Exactly.
So
wherever.
So I go see the best guy, and I say, how many times has he seen this? And he says, well, in 25 years, I've seen it 3 times. How many times have you operated on it? Once.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No offense, but that's not good enough for me.
Yeah, exactly.
None taken. Right. And then we repeat that 2 more times, and then again, just this praying so hard, and this name keeps coming up in this specific literature, Dr. Smith, and he's at Barrows, which is near and dear to your heart.
Yep.
That's obviously where I was supposed to be. That was the guy, and that's where we went.
That's cool. Yeah, and see, all these things connect. They keep coming back around, and it's not because we all got hurt by dirt bikes. It's because of life.
Right.
And like, I'm a peer mentor for the Barrows Institute for the brain and spinal cord. So I help people.
Right.
And they come, I'm the Southern Arizona advocate, so to speak. And so anybody that gets hurt that's Southern, than Casa Grande or whatever, then I can help.
That's
and
cool.
so all of these things come back, and it's a big ring. And like I said, it's not because we get hurt. It's because of all of the things that I think we do as extra. How did you find out about Houston? You looked at it, you researched it,
So, funny story, how I found out about Houston, Dr. Craven's here in town. He's the one who biopsied my tumor and told me that it was malignant.
Mm-hmm.
It took us 13 months to find that out. Once we found out it was malignant, Craven's is like, if you were my brother, I would have you go to Houston.
Oh, gotcha.
These are two, my wife and myself.
Were you speaking to him at a different level than he would speak to a normal patient, or he was that?
No, he just like we're talking right now.
Okay.
Super, super nice guy. And, but my wife and I, we don't know anything about cancer.
Right.
Not a single thing. So, and when your doctor, the guy that would be doing your surgery here in town, says that you would go to Houston if he was your brother, you go to Houston.
Right. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So obviously doing our research in this and that, found out that Houston's MD Anderson, it's fantastic. It's really good, blah, blah, blah. And that's where we ended up going. And like I said, I'm thankful for it.
Well, I can only imagine how difficult it was through the whole process. And I don't like talking about a sob story for myself. So I'm assuming that you don't want to talk about the sob stuff, but dude, fucking A, you're still here.
Right. No complaints.
I know that you and your family had some tough times, and they were supportive as heck, but...
Like I said, we have 3 kids, and like what Casey was saying, I'm not going to leave my wife by herself raising my 3 kids. That's... I would just couldn't see it.
Well, dude, good for you for kicking ass, man.
Thanks.
That's really cool. And same with you, Case. Like, it's all... Everybody's got their own story and journey, but man, you pulled through. That was super cool, dude.
Super
well,
lucky.
We got to talk to Dave in a little bit, but let's talk about this bad boy here. So... Okay. Like I was saying before, I wanted to transition. You still do ride a little bit, even with the cancer. And I don't know if people can see it on the camera, but you still, you're kind of like, I have some stuff fucked up with my face, and you still have issues.
I got a crooked face.
But the thing is that doesn't bother you. You're just like, you know what? This is the cards that I was dealt. Like, this is me. I'm still here. I still got my family. I'm still going to go ride. I'm doing all this.
I got a cool butt chin now. I'm bringing
that back. Cute, man. It looks cute. Your wife probably makes fun of you, huh?
No, she's actually probably the sweetest person about it.
Oh, really?
To be honest, yeah.
Well,
she thought she was going to lose me, so she's...
Yeah, Katie cherishes it all the time. Huh?
Right, yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Everything's working out.
That's awesome, dude. Well, so she probably supports you riding, huh?
She does. She wants me to be happy. And
people that can't see it, just because I'm sitting here, you got the Golden Ranch Fire graphics on that bad boy.
That's my department.
Woo-wee.
Go to Ranch.
So tell us about this bike, dude.
So I bought these.
Well, tell us what bike it is first.
So that's a 1993 CR500. That's an older 2-stroke. So
big dog.
Yeah, they stopped making them, but they don't make them any bigger than that.
So for people that are into dirt bikes or side-by-sides or whatever, a normal, like a brand new 450 is like driving an electric motorcycle compared to something like this. Like, this thing will rip your arms out of socket.
They're ridiculous.
Like, these things are badass.
You have to ride those with like a certain kind of calmness.
Respect.
Right. You have to respect the power, because if you don't...
So there's a lot of guys that are on side-by-sides and stuff and that watch the show, and everybody always asks me, they're like, dude, are you going to put a turbo on your car? Are you going to supercharge it? Like, how much horsepower can you get out of this thing? I'm like, dude, it's already going, like, stock. It'll go faster than I can drive it. Like, I can't drive it any faster.
For real.
However, there are those guys that'll put 450 horsepower into a side-by-side and pop some wheelies. Don't get me wrong, it's bitching.
Right.
But it's not something that I need. But this is something that I could probably deal with.
You would, and knowing how you ride, you would actually ride that really well.
Because you can, lug it around.
Casey, you too. You guys ride a gear tall like I do.
Yeah.
And you're not clutch
guys.
heavy.
Yeah.
You can't be a clutch guy on that bike. You just can't. First of all, the clutch is it'll pump your arm up in 2 laps.
Yeah.
The thing is ridiculous.
So a CR500 is like riding a freaking Harley Davidson on a motocross track.
Yeah, it's a big bike.
Well, you did a fantastic job on these things, and you redid 2 of them, right?
I did. So I had this one, and then I had a 1992 CR500. And the guy we're going to bring on, Dave, we were talking at one of the Fire Police races. It was the Christmas GP, and he was just telling me, he's like, I've never done a 500. We were just talking about, on his garage rebuilds. He does Racer X garage rebuild stuff, and I was like, Dave, that's crazy. I said, I brought my 500 that I built, and it was just this one. And we went over and looked at it, and we started talking, and we just kind of were kicking things around. And I said, I have another 500 that I can build. And he's thinking, and I'm thinking, we're like, what if we build 2 500s? You put your department on yours, I put my department on mine, and we test them and ride them, and then we eBay one off for a cancer foundation or a fallen rider foundation or something. We give the money away.
What a cool project.
Yeah, it was, and
That is really
It was
cool.
just like that. It happened that fast, and
Oh, one of those napkin things in a restaurant.
you know what? It was almost. We didn't even have a napkin. It was that simple. It worked out so well. We exchanged. I mean, I already had Dave's number, but he got me in contact with this guy Jay Clark, who edits a lot of the Racer X stuff, and I got in his ear. He got in mine. We shot some things around, and the next thing I know,
Especially with the popularity of 2-strokes, I'm sure he was like, dude, hell yeah, let's do it.
yeah, the 500s are. People want them. It is insane. I remember.
Well, it's
remember when they couldn't sell them?
Yeah, it's like the Holy Grail.
Right.
There's a couple of stories there that super short. I always wanted to ride one. I always sat on it and monkeyed around on it, and it was
I was so little, I never wanted to ride one.
It was like we're at the track. I mean, we see these same people all the time that are riding this thing, and I want to ride it, but I don't,
Right.
And it's like if you can start it, you can ride it, and that went on for years.
They're hard to start.
One particular day, I started this thing.
You're like, uh-oh.
It scared the living crap out of me. The fender's doing its thing, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I just went, nope, I'm not man enough to ride this thing.
Well, so you guys did a little promo for it. Well, first of all, before we get into the cool factor of it, like you actually did this during, and it helped you with your mental strength during your cancer, right?
It was fantastic. While I was doing all my radiation treatments and my main surgery where they took my bone out of my leg and put it in my mouth and all that fun stuff, I was at home. Instead of sitting on the couch thinking about dying, I was working on bikes. I built 2 motorcycles. It was fantastic.
God,
It's the best therapy I could have ever asked for.
and that's that whole dirt life thing again. Like it comes, like it really kicks in all the time, man. So you gave yourself something to do, not just for you.
Nope.
Something that you came up with an idea for other people, and built these things in the garage.
Yeah, I mean, the help that I got, through Jay and sending me the parts to build these bikes and to make them look as beautiful as they came out.
Pat yourself on the back a little bit here, dude.
It was cool.
You did all this stuff. Like you built this thing and you gave back, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great time.
What did Katie and the family think of it? They're like, dude.
Surprisingly enough, Kate knew what it was doing to me and how it was helping me out, and I think she was super supportive on that side of it. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think her relationship with motorcycles has been that great.
Well, yeah, she's seen what it did.
She's literally seen me break myself into pieces. But on the flip side, she knows it makes me happy, and that's what she wants.
Yeah,
that's what we both want for each other. Right? We want to be happy. So
makes total sense.
Right.
Well, I watch.
You guys. I mean, that's how I know you guys is from the Moto life. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, we all met at the dirt bike track.
We're just an extended family.
And this is part of the family now too, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it.
So what were before we get into that cool video that you guys did, what are some of the coolest things that you went through in the build process? Like everybody loves the shorty silencers, everybody loves the cool cone pipes, and like how
And what's the worst eBay story? There has to be one.
So the what I enjoyed the most was after building them and starting them.
Oh, I bet.
Because you put all this
That
time
first kick.
and all this, and they don't start easy. Dude. These things are hard to start.
Break your ankle hard to start?
I started with my boot on.
Well, yeah,
because
so some people may not know because it's electric. These are kickstart.
Yeah, and they have a lot of compression, so they pop back. And a few times if I'd have my boot on, I'm like, oof, that would have hurt. So getting them both to start was fantastic. I'm like, thank you. And then the worst part was the bearings, because the 92, they were so seized up that I literally broke my bearing press.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that thing's a legit bearing press, and I ended up breaking it because they were so seized up in there. So that was all the swearing that a human being could do.
Throwing wrenches across the garage.
Yeah, I'm heating stuff up and pushing and pressing and
And
hearing
you are
stuff.
a firefighter, so you got all the terms.
Yes. So, yeah, I would think making sure that they ran, that was probably the most enjoying thing about it. Both of them ran, too. I was like, I know one's going to run, the one's not. You know, we put V-force valves on them and all that stuff, too. And you're, like, cutting the stock parts out to put these. And I'm like, oh, man.
No turning back.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to do this on this one that I'm not keeping first.
Well, one of the coolest things that I think is you really put your touch on here. Like, all of the stickers and all the graphics and stuff, like, you made it look bitchin', like what we're used to seeing Justin McMurrich come out with. Like, it looks super duper cool, man.
It came out good. And honestly, Jay Clark has a vision. He had a vision, and this has a lot to do with what Dave and Jay and myself, we kind of all put together.
He's a smart dude, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that's cool. And then, so fast forward a little bit so we can transition and call Dave Pingree.
Okay.
You got to go do some riding with him with the 92 and the 93, right?
Yeah, we did a thing on a Racer X garage rebuild.
So it's racerxonline.com? I
Racer
think?
X Illustrated.
Yeah.
And then once you get on the Racer X page, you can go. It comes up like a full magazine page, and then you can click on the videos and.
Or they
all
could probably
updated
search
stuff.
for the.
You could even do it on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the CR500 Justin McMurrich build. And
It's
you can
it's
search
two.
for it on
It
YouTube.
shows the two bikes showing, and then it says 1992, 1993.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And what were some of the highlights? Because you guys went out to Cahuilla, or where'd you guys
Yeah,
go?
we went to Cahuilla Creek, and
That's in Southern California.
yeah, it's in Southern California.
But that's one of the coolest tracks, dude. I
It is-
love riding there.
It's beautiful.
Oh, around the
literally,
hills.
the pits are at the top, and the vet track's on one side, and the main track's on the other side.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a super cool layout too. It was fun.
You guys got to shoot a video, have some fun together.
We did. It went so fast. I wanted it to not go so fast.
Yeah.
Because you work and
Good time.
Yeah, and it was so fun, but it ended up being super successful. We eBayed the bike that Dave rode. We eBayed it off through Road to Recovery, which is
So Road to Recovery has a special piece in my heart too, because we have Mike Young. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
of course I am.
Big gun. He was on one of our shows a couple shows ago. Casey and I got to talk to him.
I looked up to him.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, so
Awesome guy.
he's a super cool guy, and he's just like he's always fighting for people.
He's a
You're
great
doing the same thing in the fire department. Dave is. We'll get talk to him about that too. And you guys were able to work together to give them some resources.
Yeah, we ended up selling the bike to a gentleman in Brooklyn, New York. Oh, I'm sorry, Buffalo, New York. Sorry, Tim, Buffalo, New York, and he paid $7,500 for it. So we got a lot of money.
And so you gave some of the money to the fire departments and some to Road to Recovery. How did that work?
All went to Road to Recovery, and it was a lot.
The rad thing about it is the fire departments still get publicity and stuff out of them.
Correct.
I mean, you're showing the graphics on the side. You get a huge magazine like Racer X, which is one of the biggest motocross magazines.
It's like Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
For all
And so
sports.
it's showing the level of commitment that you guys have to your team and your departments.
Yeah, it worked out good.
That is so cool, man. Just to give back like that, to not only go through cancer, build these two bikes, but then to take half of it and give it back.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid, dude.
It's
awesome.
We got more than we expected to get, and
Well, you gave a lot.
it worked. Everything worked out really, really well, and somebody's going to get that money that needs it. You know what I mean? And that's what really makes it matter to us.
Yeah, well, and the wall in your garage probably got a wrench thrown through it too. So that
Yeah, dude, man, that bearing press, I tell you what. Oh,
How about when you got these things on the track, or do you want to wait on that? But I'm curious.
I kind of want to talk about that
Okay.
with Dave too, because
Yeah.
I want to see.
Yes.
I want to see the difference because Dave's a little smaller than you, and I want to see like
I got him by a few inches and a few pounds. Yeah.
is well, like, when I watched the video, I swear to dude, I thought it was gonna. Your guys are way stronger than I am, and it looked like it was hard to hold on to those sons of guns.
They're no joke. Swear.
Like riding a jackhammer.
Kind of. Yeah. And then Dave even says he stopped using the clutch. He's like, I just kept it in third gear.
Just cruise.
Yeah. And he did all the insides, and I'm like, oh man, that means I got to blow up this outside. That's way more work.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's send it to commercial break, and we'll come back with Dave, dude. Thank you very much, Justin. All right, we're gonna go to commercial break. We'll be right back. Have some fun with our sponsors.
For wheels and tires with the most style, function, and innovation, look no further than Fuel Off-Road. From stock to lifted, dually to trophy truck, and UTV applications, Fuel Off-Road offers the most complete lineup for your next adventure. Whether a weekend warrior or racer, you can't go wrong with Fuel's massive line of trail tough truck and UTV wheels and tires. Good looks, better prices, and the absolute best range of styles and applications. Find us at fueloffroad.com.
Introducing Rigid's new SRL Series light bar, featuring a sleek 20-inch curved housing, ultra-wide forward projecting beam pattern, and a unique halo backlight feature offered in 4 color options. The SRL Series light bar's new optic combination projects light over 70 degrees wide, with more than enough distance to safely drive in low visibility conditions, making it the perfect lighting solution for most applications. The Halo backlight feature is offered in red, white, blue, or amber, and is wired independently from the forward projecting light. Instantly transition from style to function with the flip of a switch, making it easier than ever to own the night.
Hello, I'm Justin, the founder of Shock Therapy. Shock Therapy has been around for 5 years, but we have personally been tuning suspension on off-road cars and race vehicles for over 25 years. We tune between 10 and 15 cars per day, every single day of the week. Our concentration is tuning shock systems and supplying components that improve the ride quality of your car in many ways. Not only do we work on the average UTV, but we also tune suspension for race teams and professional drivers. We currently tune for over 87 race teams in Best in Desert and Score. Our clients and race teams rely on our suspension components to allow them to win races and keep them safe. Suspension is a moving target. We are always trying to hit that target with every customer that we work with. Each customer's needs can be different, and we tune our kits accordingly. Our research and development never stops. We improve our components every single day. As the industry evolves and improves, so do our parts and kits. As of right now, we have over 100 products for UTVs. So when you bring your car to us, you have the satisfaction of knowing that you have the most experience, the highest quality products, and the fact that your car is being tuned specifically to you.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Solder Weld. Who is Solder Weld, and what is their impact on the off-road community? Well, some of you may have seen Solder Weld's booths at the races, Lint 400, Vegas to Reno, Score and Snore events, and the UTV World Championship. You're seeing their stickers and sponsor wraps on more and more racers' vehicles every year. But who are they, and what do they have to offer us as off-road enthusiasts? Well, late last year, Solder Weld introduced their new off-road repair kit to the off-road industry and sold out their first week. The interest was overwhelming, as many off-roaders already knew of Solder Weld's aluminum radiator repair rods, and now they were included in a convenient carry kit in camo or black. If you're a racer of any type or off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product. Solder Weld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped into your roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or a brake line? We've literally seen a top-tier desert race truck at the 2019 Mint 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they would have had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just a minute. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. Solder Weld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredible high tensile strength, leaving you with a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy who broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today. Your friends will thank you. Got David Pingree on. What's up, Dave?
Hey boys, how we doing today?
Oh, we're just talking old school moto, dude. Justin was telling us about how much faster he was than all of us.
I was not saying that. You know I don't talk like that, Dave.
That doesn't really sound like him.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show with us, dude. We really appreciate it. I know you're at work right now, actually, right?
I am, yeah. So just heads up, if we get a call, I got to run. But
yeah, no worries. So for our audience, Dave is a firefighter, just like Justin. Yep. And you do a lot of EMT stuff, though, right? So Justin was kind of giving me a little bit of background on what you do during the day-to-day stuff. You're a medic, right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm medic. So I guess first of all, there is a difference between EMT and paramedic.
Okay.
And so I'm careful to correct people on that because it's an extra year of schooling, and it was $10,000 worth of schooling. So
not worth it.
I make sure that we separate the two, right?
That's kind of what you were talking about before, huh?
Oh yeah, I just don't have it in it.
So yeah, most of our calls with the fire department's had to adapt over years because we have better building codes and better fire department interaction to where we're not having as many structure fires as there used to be. So the fire department had to adapt and become like what our agency calls an all-risk agency. So it's not just fire. We respond to medical calls, and I'm at a hazmat station. I'm a hazmat specialist, so we respond to hazmat calls. We have a swiftwater team, a urban search and rescue team. We have a helicopter program, a dozer program, a wildland hand crew program. So we can kind of do everything.
That's cool. So the fire department in Southern California has really got a lot of resources.
It's pretty progressive out here, yeah. And they, because it's necessary. I mean, look at how many wildfires we get. We've got some really, how do you say this? Financially challenged areas that burn a lot still. San Bernardino City and Victorville, they're on fire all the time.
That's nuts, dude. So you guys get called out a lot then?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right on, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about Moto. This is a Moto show. Well, you can see, obviously, we got one of the bikes that you had a little photo shoot with. This thing is pretty badass, man. I was telling Justin, I think these CR500s, like, I was so little when I was growing up, like, I can't believe you guys can hang on to them without ripping your freaking arms off.
They're pretty fast.
Yeah, it's funny, though. You get back on those older bikes, and they're actually smaller. You know, everything that's all the modern bikes are a much flatter seat, and the rider triangle is bigger and more roomy, where those old ones were kind of a tighter cockpit. Mm-hmm. And actually, they feel like they fit me better. So, yeah, that motor is a handful.
So, like when you're in the
respect it,
when you're in the compartment here or whatever you want to call that cockpit, like you said.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, the pocket of the seat there. That you look at a modern bike, the seat's flat.
Right.
It doesn't have that,
and hard to rock too. Our seats were like all squishy. I didn't want to get off of them.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, let's take it back a little bit. So you grew up in Montana and Phoenix, right? Riding dirt bikes.
Yeah, I got started in Montana, and then my folks divorced when I was about 10, and my dad moved to Phoenix, and so I went with him to he basically sold me on it that I could ride all year round, and I was like, sweet, I'm in. Sorry, Mom.
What made you want to get into the dirt life or the motocross riding? Did you just see somebody riding in your neighborhood or something?
No, we grew up riding just for fun up in, we had a cabin up in central Montana, a place called Nyhart. And we'd go up there and ride fire roads. My whole family rode, and we just kind of cruised around for fun. So I always really enjoyed that. And then, I don't know, do you remember, Justin, you remember the Cooks, Brian and Kevin Cook?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So their father, this kid that we grew up racing with, mm-hmm. Their dad was my dad's best friend. And so we went out and watched them race one time, and my dad is the one that got hooked on it. He just fell in love with it. And so he took me to a race and put me on one of their race bikes, and I hated it. It was like too loud, and this bike had, like a race pipe on it. It was just like, it freaked me out. I didn't like it at first, but we did a couple more, and then I started getting into it, and then once you're hooked,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Did you guys have to do like work on your own bikes as kids and stuff like that, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was two things that my dad would not bend on. That was grades in school, and me having my stuff prepped and ready.
Yeah.
So if I came home and the bike didn't have a clean filter, it wasn't washed, and everything wasn't loaded,
You weren't going.
he's like, all right, well, we're not going then. We're not going to the track, And as long as I had that all done, he'd go to the track with me, and we'd stay out there till dark, or shoot, back in our Arizona days, Canyon Raceway and Thrasherland. Wednesday and Thursday nights, man, you'd be there till 11 o'clock at night on a school night.
Easily,
Yeah.
Easily.
Do you remember that dude Pat McMullen that used to ride at Thrashland?
Oh yeah,
Dude.
Pat and I were best friends for a long time.
Yeah, like I was just a little guy. Like I used to look up to you guys so much, and you, Justin, as well. Like I was just like on 80s, like going, God, I wish I could be like those guys. They're so rad. But I remember thinking, even as a little kid, going, how is Pat's bike gonna last? Because he's using the damn clutch so much.
Just pain everywhere.
Well, and what's funny? We all looked up to Jimmy Button.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Button and Gaddis and Kalos, kind of the local guys who were pro at the time.
All right, so
And Jimmy was a rever. He would just hold it wide open and fry the clutch. So we all kind of adopted that technique. Not that it was very good.
That's a good transition. I went in my down memory lane.
Look at that.
Yeah, JB, that's like 93, right?
Suzuki
94?
days, yeah.
Check this out, though, dude.
Yeah.
Look at that, dude.
Wow.
Dude, I was gonna say.
Where'd you get those?
I have no idea, but I was gonna send these to you if you want them, dude. Like, look at these things.
They're mint.
Dude, the pink is still super pink. It's like perfect. They were in an old gear bag.
That's when I wore
hilarious.
JT too, Dave.
Dude, you barely got any wear on the knees on these bad boys.
Yeah.
Like, I must have got them at a Supercross or something, like whatever you guys are giving stuff away. So it was cool to see that, the local Arizona boys. I also got one of my guys, like I used to always look up to Steve, so I got his 1-800 collect jersey. But, yeah, let me know if you want me to send you those pants so you can check them out, dude. They're bitching.
So
All right, sweet.
So those guys were always fast at Thrasher, obviously, yourself as well.
Kalos was
But-
too, man.
Oh, yeah, Kalos was badass.
But who could jump the gate as good as Ted?
Campbell? No one. He used to put a little knuckle in front of the gate. He would jump before the damn even things.
I remember.
I'm like,
He had like a bike length on everybody.
yeah.
Yep.
Like, how the hell is he 3
And
bike lengths in front
that
of
place still had a forward falling gate,
Yes,
didn't
it
it?
did. Yes, it
Yeah.
did.
Oh, we lost Dave. So if you guys don't mind taking the show real quick. Talk about the thrash line.
So yeah.
That was the don't bring your new pipe track.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
For sure, because it was so rocky.
All the rocks. Yep.
Oh yeah, dude, it was bad. I know.
We back?
So that Ted and Anderson and McKillier, the four of us, we just would beat the hell out of each other locally. And the crappy thing is, we'd go to Ponca or World Mini or Ponca's in Oklahoma, World Minis in Vegas, and Eric would be fourth and I'd be fifth or something like that. I'm like, dude, I don't want to race you.
You ride
everywhere
across
I
the
go.
country
Yeah.
just to race each other?
I didn't come all this way to race against you, man. I'm like, get away from me.
Well, we could do this at Canyon.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm like, we just did this last week at Thrasher. Alex is in sixth. I'm like, what's
That
going
does
on
go.
around here?
That does go to show how fast you guys were, though, because you guys were at the top of the level and still battling
We
with
did
each other in
okay.
those classes.
Well, so here's the issue: is we always had to deal with guys like Dave, who Dave came off 80s going really fast, and then jumped right into our class. And this is like 92, right, Dave? We got on big bikes in 1992.
92,
I think so, yeah. And I'm like, these guys can't get me again. I was like, I gotta get a title. I'm going fast enough, but it never failed. I had to deal with Dave Decker, Clint Latham, Robbie Renard. All those guys jumped off 80s and just beat the crap out of us. And I was like,
Those are some good names, though.
Yeah,
all
they
those
are.
guys were legit. Yeah, and
You
those
remember-
the guys you grew up racing with, right, Dave?
Yeah, we had our group was like Damon Huffman. He was
Huffman,
maybe
I
a
forgot.
year ahead,
Right.
but Huffman, Decker, Renard, Mike Metzger.
Metzger.
Gosh, who else was
That was
fast?
a good group of you guys. Casey Johnson.
Casey
He
Johnson.
was in there, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Wyndham.
Wyndham was a
Wasn't
year
he in
after.
there?
He was
Wyndham?
he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
2 years younger.
Yeah. I had to deal with him in 94.
We got some guy that just commented in, Kenny Mash, said in 1993, Loretta Lynn's 125B, he was running 12th and you laughed him. So
It would have been 92.
92, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
I
the year
didn't
he
go
made
Loretta. I went to Loretta's in 90 and 92. That was it.
How'd you end
And
up
I
doing?
won
Did
a
you
title in 92.
you got a title?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jason
bitch.
McCormick.
92. Yeah, McCormick got
He
the
was
stock
super
class, and
fast,
I won the modified. Yeah,
I was there.
You were too?
yeah, I was another guy.
How'd you end up doing?
I actually rode the international class, which was kind of cool because
What is that?
they don't even do it anymore. I don't even know how it was, but I had to race guys like Craig Anderson from Australia. It was like people from all over the world. They were like they had an allotment of guys and they threw us together, and I was like, actually went pretty well.
Oh, right on.
I got a second in one moto, and then I was in third, and I cartwheeled, and then I blew up my arm in the third moto.
Oh man,
Yeah.
On the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, they're still there. The stupid things are still there.
Yeah,
that
that
track.
track hasn't really changed.
No, I don't think it has either.
Dude, I saw some kids send it on an 80, like off the finish line, like onto a braking bump or something this year. It was huge.
Yeah. That
Like the
track
kids,
gets pretty
the things
rough.
that they do on 80s now are like what we would do on big bikes back
That's
then.
insane.
Yeah, there's so much talent out there too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you still pay a lot of attention to motocross, Dave? Like as much as you work and have the show and different things like that?
Yeah, the pro stuff I do. I don't follow the amateur stuff that closely. I'll kind of keep an eye on the big events out here, and obviously a lot of those kids are out here riding at times of the year. But yeah, I just follow the pro stuff.
Are you still able to get out on bike and just ride a lot, or?
Yeah, I'm still doing a lot of bike testing for Racer X right now, and that includes riding all the new bikes when they come out, and then all the project bikes that we build. So I wish that I had more time to just go ride for fun, but
That's
most
kinda-
of the time it ends up being kind of work, even though it's fun work. You know, It's nice to just go out and have a good time and not worry about anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the questions that I had for you, and it was a personal question because I always wanted to do it. You know, I made it to a certain level like these guys did, race Supercross and stuff, but I never got to be a factory guy like you did. And how was that transition from being, an amateur kid and getting to be a factory ride and riding for some of the coolest teams?
It was rad. I mean, I feel like I got to earn it. In '93, I had just Suzuki support. They gave me a few bikes and some parts, and I did I think 5 Supercrosses, and I did 1 national. I did the Glen Helen National. That was the 140-minute moto.
Yes.
You know,
Man.
they tried that format that year. I did that one race. That
Ouch.
gave me the number 90 for 1994. And I got my ass kicked that year. I blew out an ACL. My bike was terrible. Like, I was struggling. You remember Brian Pryor? That's another local pro
Of
name. You remember him?
course. Absolutely. I used to look up to that
So
dude.
Pryor
He was
had
fast.
quit racing, and I needed a mechanic. And he probably wasn't any better at working on bikes than I was, but he didn't have anything going on. He's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, So we had fun, but we didn't do very well in '93. It was a pretty forgettable season. So for the following year, I was talking to Button, and I said, dude, I have to make a change because I need someone to kind of help steer me in the right direction. And I don't know what I'm doing. I go to these races. I have so many questions about Supercross and the bike setup and
You got
just
Randy.
tactics and all this stuff. And so Randy Lawrence was working for Doug Dubach in '93. Doug retired. So Yamaha released him because he didn't have a place to go. And so Jimmy connected the two of us. He was friends with Randy, and he goes, hey, if you're looking for a job, I know a guy who really needs a good mechanic. And so that was a huge blessing for me because Randy was a great mechanic, for one. He was really good at bike setup. He got me connected with Pro Circuit, which, at the time I had like Race Tech doing my suspension. I had Bill's Pipes building some of the motor. Jerry, what's the guy's name? Jerry Hall. Remember him?
Yes.
He was an engine builder in Phoenix.
He built my
a really
motor
sharp,
in '92.
a really sharp guy, but I had too many people trying to throw stuff on my bike, and it was just a big hot mess.
Mhm.
So Randy took me to Pro Circuit. We rode one of their customer setup bikes that they had, and it was like so much better than what I was riding. So that was a really big step for me. In '94, again, I had Suzuki support, but I was spending my money really to go to the races. So I did all the West Coast Supercrosses, and I had money to go to 5 nationals. And in those 5 nationals, I was top 5 in 3 of them.
Wow, that's great.
And Supercross, I was top 5 almost every weekend. Huffman and Rhino were winning. Decker was up there a bit. There was a couple other fast guys, and I kept getting fourths. I was like fourth and fifth the whole series. But consistent enough that it caught the eye of Mitch Payton, and I was using his stuff at the time, so I was kind of developing a relationship with him. And fortunately, it worked out. So I was with Mitch for 3 years, then FMF Honda, then Suzuki, then KTM. So, I got to ride for some cool teams, and it was, like I said, I felt like I earned it. I put in a couple of seasons of spending my own money and grinding out on the road. And, there's a lot of people who are like, and not that I don't think we need to support privateers, but I think people just expect because you're a privateer and you're a good rider that, oh, this guy should have a ride.
No.
Well, no, you should go earn that ride. Like if you can't get up there and race with the guys that have support on whatever crap bike you put together, then, you're not going to get that shot. That's just the way the world works. Yep. So it was really cool to be able to do that hard work, struggle, and then, get those good rides. And I didn't achieve nearly all the goals I wanted to, but, I won some races and competed for some championships and had a good run.
We're proud of you, man. You made us proud because we grew up with you and you made it as far as we were concerned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, titles are tough, man. I mean, I think Gaddis is the only guy from Arizona that I know of that's ever done it. So,
right.
A lot of good riders that come out of there, but championships don't just get handed out.
No, and I don't even think Gaddis was the fastest of the guys that came out of Arizona, to be honest. I think he just was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, there's definitely been some good dudes that come out of Arizona.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, to kind of go along with the theme that you're talking about, I really think that, well, first of all, you grew up a certain way and you worked for it. You knew you had to work for it. And so a lot of the same stuff goes along with our audience. Our audience does a lot of off-roading, side-by-sides, buggies, and trucks and stuff like that. And I got my Yamaha contract with hard work and effort. It's a lot different nowadays, but I went out and I put in work for 2 seasons. I got, top 5. I raced with Dustin Nelson and those guys, and they ended up being, quote unquote teammates. It's not like the same as motocross because you're kind of operating your own team, but we were Yamaha partners and stuff like that. And you really can't do it without putting in that hard work. And there's so many people and so many kids, especially in the off-road community, that have either what we call daddy's money or spoon-fed or whatever it is, and they all do the same thing as what you were just saying. They feel like they're supposed to be given something or they're entitled because they go and they race these cars and stuff. And I think the guys that really do end up succeeding, and even nowadays in motocross, are the ones that really work their asses off and appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean that's in life too, right? I mean, Justin, you know how hard it is to get a job in this industry.
Oh, dude,
it's not handed to you just because you're related to somebody or you want it. It doesn't matter. You got to put the work in.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that's something that I really respect about racing. And my dad understood early on, coming back from races. He would always pull a life lesson out of it. And I think in any sport really, but motocross especially, it's like, because a team sport has a different dynamic to it, but in racing where it's like once you go to the line, it's you,
dude.
And I feel like that's life. You have a home team, your wife, your family, whatever, but when it's time to go out and hustle and do the work, it's you. And so he would just always instill in me that hard work equals results, and being prepared and all of those things that you would tell somebody how to be successful racing. You can just change the verbiage and apply it to anything in life. So sure. I've always really appreciated that about racing.
Is that something that like we were talking about it earlier, is that something that you're able to pass down to your kids and stuff too?
I'm trying, they,
that's the same answer just in case you gave too.
Well, my wife, she played soccer. And so I had 2 daughters, and I don't care to have them racing dirt bikes. So I was like, look, I don't care what you guys like. We're going to play a sport. We're going to do something to keep you guys focused. And I'm just a big believer in that. And so they chose soccer. They both love it. And they're both really good at it. But team sports are different, man. And I'm learning that a little bit. I've had my moments of being soccer dad. Tony Alessi on the sidelines screaming at the
with a laser.
And dude, it's embarrassing sometimes. I get done. I'm like, what was I doing? You just get sucked into it. But no, I try to. I do the same thing that my dad always did. Is on the way home. Okay, what did we learn? What mistakes do we make? How do we fix that? Yep. Man, you're doing this great. Keep that up. Keep doing that. So for one, it gives us something to talk about and an experience to have together, right, with my kids. And then if I can teach them lessons through soccer that'll help them in their life. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
Just those traits go a long way, though. Like, we all grew up kind of in the same boat as you, and getting those life lessons and things like that. Even during races, like we'd come home, whether win, lose, or whatever we had in the off-road stuff, we would come home, and we do this every drive home. We talk about it for 6 hours. What could we do better?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's with the whole team. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. And the awesomest part about it is we executed that before the next race. And I think you're instilling that in your kids too.
Yeah, and Dave,
Yeah.
think about your dad with the the bike maintenance and the filter, and you're not going if it's not ready.
Right.
That's exactly what you do at the station every day, right?
Yeah, we clean real good.
Everything's got to be ready, right?
But I mean, I know that in that industry, any kind of industry that's life supporting like that, you've got stuff that has to be perfect,
Right.
and it has to be perfect monthly, yearly, weekly. So same idea, right? I mean,
9 times out of 10, you can pretty much see that every morning we're washing a truck.
Yeah.
right,
We're polishing a truck. or
Well, the
something.
parachute has to be packed right, otherwise it's not going to make it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
right.
that's cool. And so you got into that. Like, let's talk about some of the stuff that you do on a daily basis now. You'd like being a firefighter, but what made you want to get into we won't call it firefighter, we'll call it a medical industry?
Well, I'm a firefighter, paramedic. I'm both things. So, really, when I quit racing, the first job out of that was working for Racer X. And, I really owe a lot to Davey Coombs and Racer X for giving me that opportunity, because it's hard. And we talk about this on the Whiskey Throttle show all the time with guys. That transition from racer to whatever's next is tough.
Yeah, it is. Man.
It's really tough. And that was like such a nice little stepping stone for me to go out of that and into whatever was next, right? So I was an editor there with them for, I think, 3 or 4 years full time. And then Supermoto started kind of picking up as a sport, and I dabbled in a couple of those and ended up winning one. So then I got a ride with the Troy Lee Honda team and got into Supermoto. And when that happened, I asked Racer X, hey, can I kind of step back a little bit? I'll just be on retainer and do a few things for you, but I want to go do this. And they were cool, let me do that. So that lasted, I think, 3 seasons. And then when Troy wanted to transition from Supermoto to Supercross, he needed a guy that could kind of help, that knew motocross and Supercross a little better. The guy he had at the time had never done the Nationals or done the Supercross. So they needed somebody with some experience. And so I stepped into that role as something that I thought I could really be helpful at and good at it. I mean, we had a budget that was under $1 million. And if you look, when I took over in 2009, we had Blos, Borkenhagen, Jake Moss, and Jimmy Albertson. And we put those 4 guys in the main event just about every single weekend. We had a bunch of top 5s. I think Blos was top 5 almost every weekend that year.
We went fast that year.
The following season, we had Will Hahn and Cole Seeley and Ben Townley for under $1 million. I mean, if you understand motocross budget, that's shoestring. And I had Will Hahn on the box every weekend. Cole Seeley got his first podium that year. Ben Townley was podiuming 450 outdoor nationals, damn near won Redbud. He was a half a lap away from winning the overall at Redbud.
Yep.
So, I mean, we really covered some ground, and I feel like, that was something I'm really proud of, just helping that team really get jump started, and now they've taken off and they're at a whole nother level. But
they're doing really good. And we saw like a lot of that stuff happen. Like, we saw it all growing, and we are so proud of you, like being in that new position, like you're saying, that transition position from being a racer to going and managing a team. That's got to be like, I don't know, you probably did give yourself trial by fire. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to do an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm looking over my desk cubicle. I'm like, hey, do you know how to do this? I don't know how to add these 2 lines. Like, I mean, that's not something you learn as a racer. So
YouTube.
A lot of that stuff, the desk stuff, man, it was a struggle. But I'd go out and ride with the guys, and I'd help them get them connected with trainers, and I was just helping them get a good, solid program put together, because it's something I had done for years. So the problem was with that is I was back to now traveling 25 weekends a year. My wife and I just had our first kid, and then another one right after. I kind of got the Irish twins thing going on. They're 14 months apart. So we were like, this isn't something I can do long term. So what am I going to do? You know, the magazine business, and for that matter, really anything in the industry, there's just not a ton of money. So I'm thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to do where I can make, you know, what is my next career move, you know? And so my wife's father was a fire captain at the time. He's like, you need to come ride out and just see if, I think you might like this. And so it was one Thanksgiving. I actually had Brock Sellards with me. He was living with me at the time. And we both went up and did a ride out with my father-in-law. And we went on like a stabbing, and they had a vehicle fire and like this domestic assault, you know, just like a kind of a pretty random grouping of calls, but all of them were pretty eye-opening for me. I'd never seen that kind of stuff before. So I was like, this is pretty cool. And he goes, oh, you know, we didn't get a fire today, but like when you get into a structure fire, he goes, man, I'm telling you, you won't believe how fun it is. And so I started kind of down that path. And then the more I got into it and the more I learned, the more I was like, yeah, this is it. I got to do this. I love it.
That's cool.
And so it took a while, man. I'm not going to lie to you. The whole time I was managing Troy's team, I was going to EMT school in the summer, working as a paid call fireman on the weekends. And anytime I had off, I would go up there and just do a ride out with those guys and sign off my task book and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I told Troy going into 2011, I said, hey, I need to have a raise, like a pretty significant raise, or I'm going to have to like do something different. And him and Han, his budget was, you know, was what it was. And it's like, you know, man, I can't really do more than this. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to go to paramedic school. I'm going to like take this leap of faith and I'm just going. And it was like, you ever heard of Financial Peace University? There's a guy that does this. I'm brain farting on his name.
Ramsey.
Dave
Ramsey.
We had to go on that program, dude. I was on the envelopes because I took a $40,000 haircut for income that year, and medic school was $10,000. And I mean, it was like a struggle. My wife picked it up. She's a hairstylist, so she was taking on more clients, and we struggled through that year to get through that. But as soon as I got out of medic school, because this was all during the recession, mind you, this was, you know, 2009, 10, 11, 12. And so nobody was hiring out here anyway. I don't think across. I think it was kind of the same everywhere. But
we weren't hiring either. None of us were.
Nobody hired for like 5 years. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to just keep pushing. I'm going to get as many certs as I can. I was taking classes and got out of medic school and got a job with a little Indian res department out here, and just started like chipping away. And then literally a year after, like maybe 6 months to a year after I got out of medic school, I had 5 offers all at once. So it was a really, really long road to get there, but and humiliating. Humiliating, I don't know if that's the right word.
No, it's
humbling.
That's humbling.
It was humbling.
It's humbling.
Yeah, because it kind of brings you back down to reality, and I think there's a common theme in the management role that he was playing with Troy Lee, and into his, you know, obviously education. He really honestly put himself through things that he may not have been able to figure out had he not grown up with his dad making him figure out all those same things. Like, he really had to learn both of those traits with facing all the adversity, but really just focusing and getting it done.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that, and Justin, like, I know you can appreciate this knowing the fire service, but like I went from professional racer, right? Like where you're just completely narcissistic. It's all about you and how you can make yourself better, to a manager role, right? Where I'm, at least people are pretending to respect me because I have this position, right? From that straight into, I am the biggest pile of shit in the room. I mean, when you come in as a boot fireman,
yes, dude,
you're the lowest. You are like pond scum, right? So I mean, I'm cleaning the toilets. I'm getting yelled at, and I've never been, you know, anything that's paramilitaristic like this is. And so, like the day one of our tower, when they're screaming at you and making you, you know, run in your like uniform and boots, and I mean, dude, I was like, what have I done? Like, this is so far out of like what I think is acceptable. It was tough. So the point is, I had to really humble myself and go, okay, just suck it up. Don't say, and you know, Justin, you know, it's like, shut your mouth, listen, don't speak, like be seen, don't be heard. Those are kind of the things you learn as a probationary fireman.
If you're quiet, that's the best because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if you can just be quiet and kind of hang out and let guys get yelled at, then let them because they don't know how to be quiet. That's what you do.
Yeah. You don't want the grease in that situation.
No, you don't.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a big transition and it wasn't easy. Like I said, it took me 5 years to get hired and get here where I'm at. So
so on the adverse effect, on the adverse of that, like, so you obviously had to be the greased wheel in the fire department, but you were also, when you did the team manager stuff, you were also, a confidant. You were an experienced rider that you could talk with these guys. I feel like that would have a lot of benefit and probably made a big difference in how Troy's program grew.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think we sped that process up from them being in 08 before I came on. They had Chris Gossler, Justin Keeney, and Gavin Graysick. And I think they only made like a few main events. I mean, they had a rough go. And so, smash cut from 08 to 09 with those other guys. Like I said, we had 4 guys in the main event just about every weekend. Mm-hmm. The bikes looked, Troy's always been great at making stuff look good. The stuff looked awesome. And I think we kind of established ourselves as like a legit option for good riders to come to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the time that all those lights classes were growing and the market was changing, so to speak, where the teams are different, developing programs and stuff. Yeah. So that was a really good time. And I remember seeing your progress through that. And I thought you did a fantastic job, man. So kudos to you for that.
Oh. Well, thanks, man.
What was the next step that you were, trying to take on? Because I know that you wanted to stay in the motocross industry, but after you started doing all the firefighter stuff, like, were you able to still keep it going?
Yeah, so that was the dream all along, right? Was, okay, if I can keep the magazine thing going, the side job, then once I get hired with the fire department, we have time at night after dinner. Like right now, I come into my room. It's kind of my time to do what I want. So I'll come in here and do a lot of my writing at night. But trying to keep that up through probation.
Oh,
on probation, it's not your life. You are a slave to that job and you do everything that they want you to do, and that's it.
Yep.
So I was having to do everything at home on my days off, and I'm exhausted anyway. And that was a tough year, a really tough year. So, but I did want to stay involved. Like I said, there is enough time for you to have a lot of firemen have side jobs because there is days off. And I love the motocross industry. It's something that's, I think, like once it's kind of intertwined in your DNA, it's tough to walk away. Not a lot of guys just cut bait and never come back.
Right. Near and dear to your heart, for sure.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, and I guess that kind of leads us into some of the stuff that you guys have done together. Because, Dave, you write for Racer X, right?
Yeah.
And you host your own podcast or show, and that's a pretty successful venture as well. So you get to talk to people, you get to be involved with them, and you get to still really have a good hold on the motocross industry still, yeah?
Yeah. It's worked out really good. And the Whiskey Throttle show, it wasn't really planned. We had actually, when I was at Troy's, I had talked to them about doing some type of show, like a podcast, behind the scenes podcast or video series. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody really, it was too early for that, And then now, with as popular as YouTube is, people are basically just watching YouTube as a TV channel.
Yep.
And podcasts, if you have any kind of commute or if you travel or, podcasts are just sort of they become the new magazine, the new way people are consuming media. So the timing was right. Stuff kind of just came together, and that thing has really taken off and been fun. And I also, no one is taking advantage of being in Southern California. There isn't another podcast like what we're doing, or another show where you can sit down with all of these legends that live right here and talk to them, like get their whole story, like 3 hours of take us from the very beginning and walk us through your whole career. Tomorrow we have Malcolm Smith coming in.
Oh, sweet.
Nice. You need more than 3 hours, bro.
Dude, right. I'm sitting down with these guys and I'm just like, man, this is so cool.
Right.
And awesome. I'm learning so much stuff about them. So it's been really fun for me to do this thing too.
Working with Grant's probably pretty fun too, huh?
Yeah, well, especially when we get the live shows and he's on the sauce.
He's sauced.
Grant's pretty. Yeah, he grabs a couple extra gears.
Well, you guys do a good job, man. So kudos to you for that too, as well. Casey, you had a couple questions for Dave, didn't you?
Yeah, Dave, I was, thinking through just, watching you I wouldn't say I was a local guy. So watching you guys come down and race with us and then following you and your steps there, I feel like there was some point in your career. We kind of talked about this with Justin a little bit. There had to be some point where we've all had these injuries, right? And was there that point where you're kind of there like, man, these guys are like helping me or saving me or really getting me through this situation. I'm wondering, is there a piece of that kind of stuck in the back of your mind when you were thinking of this fire thing? That was that kind of there at all or not really?
You know what? It wasn't. And I know a lot of people will say that, like that they had an experience where a firefighter came in and helped with either a medical situation or just something that they called 911 for, and it stuck with them. And honestly, I never had that interaction. Most of the races that we did, there was an ambulance crew there.
Right.
So fire wasn't even really involved, Sure. We obviously have the Alpine Stars medical rig now, which is amazing. But before that, it was like a couple of ALS boxes sitting there. Right. Those guys had no idea what they were doing as far as, how to work within a track like that. It was pretty rudimentary. So, but I will say this, because I had a lot of injuries like every other dirt bike guy. And so not only did it help me with like anatomy and physiology, I mean, I can explain to you the way a knee functions probably better than a lot of orthopedics, because mine have been cut open so many times. But it helped me with understanding how I wanted to be treated as a patient. Right. Nice. So when somebody's hurt and, it's like, I kind of know, like I'm able to put myself in their shoes and go, okay, this guy needs to be sort of talked down, or, this guy's freaking out. I need to, you know what I mean? You kind of learn what a patient needs by putting yourself in their shoes if you've been there.
Yeah. And you can be a little bit more perceptive of what yeah,
it gives you some, when you have that experience of being in their shoes, it lets you be a better care provider, right? So I think that there's a lot of things I gleaned from being hurt, being that guy on the gurney, that I now apply as the medic working on them.
That's actually pretty cool. And we're talking about how like old traits like come to fruition now with the jobs and stuff. I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but it's still cool that like that you can actually relate to it, and especially everybody that gets hurt needs more attention, and if he can focus on that, that's bitching.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, yeah. I remember, not to go back to all the injuries and whatnot, but I was waiting to roll out for practice San Diego, and I remember, and that was Dave. That was, Phoenix Dave in my mind, that, I mean, you were the man by then, but in my mind you were still Dave, and it was, I think it was pretty bad. It was a femur, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It was a femur.
I know, right?
I broke my right femur. I blew out my left knee. I broke my right hand.
Can you explain to the audience what happened?
Yeah. Sorry. God, it's such a bummer, man. Like,
that was your year, dude, for sure.
That was 96. And I mean, Kevin Windham had my number. I came into that season. I had won all 3 nights at Bercy. I had done all the testing on our bike that year because Rhino did it the year before, and he built it the way he wanted it, which is all top end. Prashant and I hated it, and we would always complain to Mitch, and Rhino was the guy winning races, so he was building it kind of the way Rhino wanted it. So I did all the testing on the Supercross bike that year. It was exactly what I wanted. We crushed it at Bercy. We did a GFI invitational race, and I was actually leading that race, pulling away from Windham. That was when they did a pit stop, though. So right after the pit stop, he punks me in this turn, and I came into the next turn and just tried to blow him out of his boots. And I hit him, and we both went off the track, but I crushed my pipe.
Right.
I mean, just smashed it flat when I hit him. So he went on to win the race. I think I still got second or third, even with a crushed pipe. But I came into that year like firing. I wanted to win badly. I was probably a little too emotional. At the opening round, I think I was fourth. It was an east-west race. And then it went Anaheim, and I had a terrible race. Anaheim won. I crashed like 100 times. That's where there was those whoops around a corner.
Right, I crashed,
And I tried to
crashed in those
sneak
too.
inside.
They had them going around a corner?
Sneak,
They were awesome.
Really?
Loved them.
That's
I tried to sneak in between the hay bales and James Dobb and just exploded. And then the next weekend at Seattle, I was second. So anyway, I think I was about 10 points, 12 points behind Kevin going into San Diego. And that Tuesday, he broke his collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was living with Chad Watts at the time, who was Ricky's mechanic when he came on later. He was working for Rhino. And he comes in, he goes, "Hey, Kevin Windham just broke his collarbone." I'm like, "Shut up. Don't stop messing with me." He goes, "No, he broke his collarbone. He's not racing this weekend." So I was trying to contain my happiness, but inside I'm thinking, this is my chance. This is my break, right? Like, I can win this race. Because I think on the West Coast, I was clearly the second fastest guy, but Wyndham he had me covered. I thought, okay, this weekend, if I get a win, that'll put me at about a 15-point lead. I could get second the rest of the races and I'll win the title. So we got in practice, and there's a kind of snake through the back section of the track, and there was this right-hander, a little step up, and like a triple, rhythm section that you could triple. And I was behind Pedro Gonzalez, and it looked like he did the step up and he got on the gas like he was going to jump the triple. And then right at the last minute, he backed out. And so I was already committed. So I just sort of pulled to the right and I just kept drifting, and I missed him, but I landed right on top of a hay bale. And that was when they lined him with hay bales, not tough blocks.
Right. I saw the whole thing.
I think it would have been a different story if it was a tough block. I probably would have still crashed, but I think it would have been a softer get off, because the hay bale just stopped me and I slammed into the bars. That's when I broke my femur, and then it spit me off. And, that was rough.
Yeah,
that was a mess.
Yeah, and those triples were pretty hairy on a 125 back then too.
I think if I remember, that whole layout was kind of
It was
funky. You remember there was some dude jumped the triple and landed into the oncoming lane of whoops. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was
that might have been in the main.
That was in the far section, the north section of the track.
Yeah,
that was triple over there.
That was a bad.
Do you remember who won that one?
Jeff Willow.
Yeah, his one and only.
That's right.
No way, really?
That's right, Jeff Willow.
I think Kim Askenazi from Australia or something like that got second or something. I'm like,
yeah, I think Dobb was still up there.
Schnell
so
up there?
Yeah.
I think so too.
That was those guys.
Yeah.
So who won the title that year then?
Wyndham.
Yeah, he ended up coming back to
He's still, because he still had, I was the only guy even close to him in points. Like I said, I was 15 back. So, I mean, he still had the points lead even after missing that round.
Oh, so he just got his collarbone bolted up and then just messed around?
He plated it. I think there was a 2 or 3 week break in the West Coast series, and then he came back
we
for the
went
next
east.
round.
Yeah. So he was back, yeah.
Oh, right on. Well, that's good for Wyndham then. Man, that's such a tough break. But it did. Even though it was a loss, man, I'm sure it taught you something. Like you said, being humble and the certain things that you deal with nowadays, I'm sure it definitely, hurt, but it probably still taught you a good lesson.
Yeah, and something we talk about too a lot on the show with different racers is perspective. At the time, I can't even convey to you how devastated I was, right?
Oh, I can only imagine.
That was my whole world. That's all that mattered. That's what I'd worked for from the time I was 4 years old to then, right? And so when it gets yanked out from under you, you're totally dramatic about it. You're just like, I'm quitting. I'm done. This is stupid. But time goes by, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, God, why was I so bent out of shape? Like, life is there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
When you have kids and you just gain a better perspective on, it was just dirt bike racing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool, and I was, wanted to achieve these goals or whatever, but it's it's really not as big of a thing as we make it as racers, or when we're completely invested in it like that. And I wish that I could have some of that perspective, back then.
I say that all the
because
time.
it would have taken the pressure off of me. It would have allowed me to enjoy it more. I think I was so fixed on the outcome, and actually I know Ryan Hughes can be a little crazy at times, but one of the things he says is, when you have those days where you're just on and everything's clicking and it feels like you're not even trying hard and you just can't make a mistake, that's when you're just fully like invested in the moment, and you're not thinking about the end result. And I think like that really resonated with me because a lot of my career, whether it was pressure I put on myself or I was on a 1-year contract or whatever, it's like I was always thinking, okay, I gotta get this result, so at the end of the year I'll get this. And I wish I could have just said, man, and just enjoy it. It might be over next week, so just like work your ass off, enjoy the ride, and like the results will be what they'll be.
Yeah.
And I found a little bit of that later on, just like 2000 when I was leading that series, and you're dealing with a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. And I was going to Bible verses, trying to find ways to calm myself down. And there's a proverb that just says, like, what man can add a minute to his life by worrying? Like it just basically like you're not helping anything. And so I would just say, all right, am I going to go out and give it 100% tonight? Try my hardest. Yes. Okay, then why am I going to worry about it? Because the results are just going to be what they are. So just don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. And, I would try to get myself into that frame of mind, but that's really easy to say. It's tough to do when you roll down into that stadium and you've done all this work to prepare and the team's going, okay, we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars and man hours and, everybody expects you to perform. But
yeah, the pressure is a lot different. And that's one of the questions that we can ask you too, that we asked Justin earlier, was what are some of the best moments of his Supercross or motocross racing career? And he said the same thing that you're relating to now is it wasn't necessarily a win. It was some of the times when I just felt like I was just on, like it didn't matter the result. I was just flowing. I did great, whatever that ended up happening, he just had a great time.
I had one moto at Ponca one year. I think it was like 95, maybe the last year I was there. I think it went 96 too, but I got like a decent start and everything was just clicking, man. I moved my way up to second, got second in the moto, and I was like, man, if I could ride like that every time,
Yeah.
And I think back to that now, I was just another moto at the time, but I was like, those are the ones that you don't forget. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I remember I had a moto at Glen Hill, and I used to ride. My generation was Sean Hamlin and those dudes, and so Sean Hamlin, Oscar Valdez, and myself used to always be top 3 battling for wins in I think it was Golden State at the time. And so we're riding mini bikes, and I fell down or got taken out in the first turn, and it took me a long time to get back up. Like I was probably 3/4 of a lap or almost a lap down, and I came back all the way to second, almost past Sean at the flag, and it was really, really cool because that's like one of the only races I'll ever remember, and it was just on a little mini bike.
Right.
Like
it means a lot, though.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that. Do you have any stories like that you remember when you had a moto like that?
Yeah, and this is something that I again, when people ask me about like what to focus on, or when I ask guests on our show, like, what do you remember? I have like these really fun stories from trips. Like the first time I went to Mammoth was in 1990, and my dad and I had gotten in a fight about a girl. Long story. Remember Jill McDermott? Remember?
I can neither confirm nor deny if I knew the Joe McDermott.
So anyway, I was hanging out with this girl, and I was supposed to be back home helping my dad get the bikes ready. And so he's like, screw you, I'm not going. If you want to go, find a ride with a buddy. And he was mad. And so Alex and Dave let me tag along with them, and I went to Mammoth, and I actually learned 2 things from that, because my dad used to put a lot of pressure on me, at the races. He was into it, and he had good intentions, but he would actually make it worse for me. And so by going with Alex and Dave, one, we had the time of our life. Alex and I mountain biked, and we played volleyball at that little Grumpy's place. Remember that used to have a sand volleyball court? And
what was the name of that pizza joint up there that was so freaking good?
Oh gosh, at that time when I went, I didn't.
Giovanni's?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That place, dude. They had the best like balsamic dressing I've ever had in my life, dude.
It's funny the things you remember, right?
So that I have such cool memories from that trip. We were playing some motocross video game on the way up on his little Game Boy. I mean, like, I remember so many things about just the trip itself. And I think I got third on the weekend, and it was I raced without any pressure because there was no expectation from Dave and Alex. They were just like, hey, have fun out there, bud. Good luck.
Right.
And I came home and I told my dad, I said, look, I rode so much better without extra pressure you put on me. Like, I'm going to always try my hardest, and I want to win just as bad as you want me to win. So, like, can we try to just, like, let's just go and enjoy the races, and we know we're going to work hard and always try our hardest, but don't put that extra pressure on me. And so it was actually good for us to have that. But I remember that, like, it's kind of like, again, going back to what Rhino says, embrace the journey. It's not the destination, it's the journey, right? Like, and I know that sounds super cliche, and like I'm gonna write you guys a poem or something.
It's truth, dude. It's truth.
It's really true, you know. I mean, I'll always remember race wins. I have 4 of them, and I can remember each one of them like they were yesterday. That's a feeling like, I don't know, man. I can't even put it into words. Just the total culmination of all of this work and sacrifice. Money that you're sparing. I think how much money my dad spent taking us racing. I mean, it's insane, you know?
Yeah,
so,
all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. It's crazy now. As adults, you look at and you think, holy crap, he was buying me a new bike every year. We drove to Oklahoma and Tennessee and, you know, Texas, and we're staying in hotels and we're eating out. Like, that's expensive.
And let's be honest, we had more than one bike every year.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
And now you're like, new soccer cleats again?
yeah.
Right?
Man,
Yeah,
those shoes are $60.
you just got some 2 years ago.
2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Let's just get thinner socks. You'll be fine.
Get them big this
Stop
time.
wearing socks.
Get them big this time.
But anyway, it's those trips, you know, it's those experiences, the stuff that I remember from my amateur career with my dad, just us traveling back to the races, and man, it's memories I'll never forget. And I think that while those trophies are cool sitting on my mantle, those memories, especially when my dad's, you know, passed away and gone, it's like I'll always have them.
Yeah,
Your
absolutely.
dad was a good guy, man.
That's really cool. Yeah, I remember some times up at Mammoth too. I only got to go 1 year, and I remember more of the mountain bike trails on the hill than I do of the actual track.
Screwing around.
Yeah.
Remember we were screwing around in I don't know if it was Alex's room or Sean's room, but Kalos was there. So this was '94, and Dave finally came barging in and told us to stop screwing around because we were starting to break shit in there. So Dave kind of came unglued, but yeah. Dave was a good guy too, man. I liked him a lot.
It's funny the things that you remember though, track wise and whatever. But remember when Jimmy came back from Europe, started that PJ1, the Atomic 22 team. Remember that?
Yeah, I actually traveled with those guys that year a little bit.
And because he was back and
96.
didn't have a team yet or anything, and they were going to do what they were going to do. Remember we built that track together.
Yeah,
the
one in
4 of
Casa
us
Grande,
or the 5 of us, and
that was that Supercross track in Casa Grande?
Yeah, so it's funny the things you remember. Jimmy, everybody looked up to Jimmy, and here I was, this new guy, just riding Justin's coattails, trying to get as best I could.
Just turning pro.
Just turning pro, and Jimmy's a tall guy. Obviously, I'm a tall guy, and we built these whoops that were insane.
They were dumb.
That whoop pad was dumb. It didn't make any sense, right? And
No, they were dumb.
And Jimmy just told me, dude, you're tall. Jump in second, hit third, and lean back.
And you got good in the whoops after that too.
And you know why we know that for sure? That stupid round whoop section that we were just talking about.
Sucked.
I stuck the gate in the last chance qualifier and passed everybody almost. And
that one, what was his name?
Like on the first lap or
some
something?
shit like that.
Lindstrom
Pulled off.
thought it was the checkered flag.
And
It
he
was the
pulled-
white
and
flag.
I'm like, he just gave that to Casey. I'm like, nice.
and
dude.
now he gets to deal with the last guy coming at the. Are you kidding me?
I
But
was like, hey man, that was well earned.
But those are one of those things that they just stick, and like you start talking about it, you come back, it just brings you back, and it's like crazy. All the, talking about all the money that was spent, all the time,
that's
all the
crazy.
blood, and and
A lot of work,
sweat
man.
and-
No matter how you look at it, it's just
Right.
a lot of work.
We got a poor connection, so let me call Dave back. So keep the conversation going about those crazy.
I can see you guys and hear you guys.
Yeah, we
Am
can't
I on
see you,
now?
so let me call you right back.
So there's one race that keeps popping up in my head, and it's actually the one that when I decided to turn pro, right? So I for whatever stupid reason, I decided in 1993, Dave and all those guys are going to move up, and I'm going to win me a title, right? I'm going to do all these stupid amateur nationals. I'm going to win a title. So it's 1993, and I was riding Yamahas, and I hated those bikes. Gosh, they were awful.
You like Cowies and Hondas, right?
I rode them all. I rode Cowie, Suzuki's, Hondas, but those Yamahas that year just didn't work with me, and it was just a screwed up situation. I'll never forget.
93.
93.
Yeah, I remember. They weren't very
So
good.
Dave, you might even remember this. You were just coming off of like your second or third blown up knee or something. You were just coming back after surgery, and you and Jimmy came down to Tucson to race in a race, and myself, Anderson, Campbell, everyone was there.
Was that the fairgrounds?
No, it was at Mountain View.
Okay, I remember
And
that too. Actually,
That race, Eric and all those guys moved up to pro, and I was going to stay intermediate because I wanted to win a title, right? It was just, and that night, I rode so good, and when I was all done, I was like, I'm turning pro. You know what I mean? I was like, this is stupid for me to stay intermediate, and that was one of the turning points of me for turning pro. That was when I decided to do it. I literally the next day I was like, I'm riding pro.
it's like Birdie in 18.
Yeah,
You're ready
for
to
real,
come
yeah.
back next time. Yeah.
Get an Eagle or something. And I literally got rid of my Yamahas. I gave that guy back his Yamahas. So
I remember those
yeah.
days. Okay,
And
now I get
I
it.
got a hold of Apache, and they had some kind of. Do you remember Apache Suzuki? They would let you.
that was my sponsor for years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could give them.
Steve Nash.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that was my guy.
I rode for him in '92. They helped me out with my bikes in '92, and in '93. I was riding those bikes I hated, and then halfway through the year when I turned pro, I gave them his Yamahas back and went right back to Nash, and he hooked me up again, and I was like, all right, man. Suzuki's, yeah.
They had those clouded seat covers, remember?
Yes.
It was like a purple and gray
That was 91 and
something.
92.
Is that
Remember
what it
that?
was?
Those were so fugly. Like the
Dude,
purple.
can you imagine if some of those designs
Oh
came
my
back
God.
now?
Oh, dude, I think it would
was
be
so
cool.
bad, some of
Purple
them.
camo.
Or those like hot pink Suzuki graphics on the side of the.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that'd be cool to see
That's
those
just-
now. Well, Red Bull traded them this weekend, so maybe they'll come out with
Yeah,
some
there
cool
you
shit
go.
there.
They should.
That'll be really cool. Do you remember that race, like how Dave did, or does Dave?
So
remember?
Dave, I ended up racing. So I pole shot at both motos. I was on a 250, and you guys are 125s, and
Okay.
I ended up pole shotting the first moto, and Button got me with like 2 laps to go, and ended up in your guys' defense, that track was really fast, and I could ride that track with my eyes closed too. That was like Ted at Thrasher, but in the second moto I won, but I think you guys fail or something happened. I don't know, but I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not riding amateur anymore. This is stupid. Because I don't remember who got the money. It might have been Anderson who got the money. I was like, that's my money. You know what I mean? It was like $200 or something stupid. But I was like, that's my $200.
Did you ever get to ride that Eloy track, Dave?
Oh yeah.
I don't think so.
You never
Eloy.
It was called
Ocotillo.
Ocotillo, go huge.
yeah, Go Huge.
I don't think I did.
We just had a guy chime in. He used to own that track, Coleman. So yeah, that was a cool track. That's where I actually turned pro too. And when I turned pro, Ted was the guy, you know, because he had his Subway bike there, and I was
He
like,
went fast for a few years.
and
too.
I was
He
like,
had
dude,
some
there's
good
no
years.
fucking way I'm gonna beat this guy. He's gonna kill me. And first moto, I ended up getting second. He was pretty far ahead. And then second moto, for whatever reason, I was like had a good ride. And then he fell over in the last turn, and I got it.
Right. Yeah, dude, and all it takes is something like that to happen. You're like, all
Yeah.
right.
And I was pretty stoked. I was like, this is a shitty track. Like the day is going like pretty good for me, but like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull this off again. I'm gonna
Right,
try my hardest,
right.
but it was cool.
It used to get rough.
It did.
That was like a motocross track right there.
And it was so dusty sometimes, man.
They would
So
get those
dusty.
little nasty little chuckies in it,
Yeah.
like where like the powder would kind of go
Yep.
away, and it was like hitting a curb.
Yeah.
Coleman ended up bringing in some really nice like sod and stuff like that, and made the track way better. But
Yeah, I like that place. It was cool.
one of the things that we brought up like a week ago, Dave, before like when we were trying to get you on the show, was Casey was talking about that video that you guys did at Pinal.
Oh, jeez.
He did that step up that you did at Pinal too. That fucking thing looked huge, dude.
was
Like
big.
huge.
Alex took me out the day after you guys were out there, and we did all that stuff. You did one double. That I was like, no, dude. I gotta see
Yeah.
it. And then I saw
How did
the
you
video. I'm
size
like,
that up
damn,
the first time though? Because that thing was like, dude, it was straight up.
That was hairball, dude.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of sizing up. You had to we rode up it, made sure the lip was packed. That was my big thing, is I didn't want to hit it and have it
Give
you
out.
know,
Blow
sink in.
through it, yeah.
So that's what
So
I
I
did
just
when
got-
I jumped it, and I almost died.
Oh, is it?
I almost died.
I landed with about 6 inches to spare, and that was it. And I was like, okay, we're never doing that again. Fourth gear tap, 250. What are you doing?
Were you on a 125 or 250 when you did it?
125.
Nice.
I was on my 125 when I did it.
How fast did you guys have to hit it?
Honestly, I didn't
Tap.
feel like I was going fast enough. I really didn't. Alex was like, you're
I
going
don't
fast
remember.
enough.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't
dude.
remember specifically that jump, like how fast I hit it or anything. I just remember thinking, this was back when it was for Moto Triple X, and
Yeah.
I knew that this video was going to be good because Krusty Demons had already come out, and that was just the rage right now. If you could go out and film with these guys, that was huge. So So I'm like, okay, I got to do something cool. And we were out there, and I'm going, oh man, I got to find something good. There's nothing out here, you know, because they drove, you know, it's a long ways to go drive to go film.
Right.
And I think when I saw that step up thing, I was like, oh, it's a little sketchy, but like I can't let these guys down. I got to hit it.
Alex was like, I did all the jumps, David, except for one, and I only got like a 2-second clip in the video. He was all bummed out.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
in his defense,
you know, the hard part is that stuff doesn't look that big on video.
No, dude.
But when you're at the base of it, it was a pretty big jump.
Yeah, it was legit for sure.
So.
By the time I was big enough to even like think about doing that thing, it was way too rained out. Like it was gone.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they had a bunch of freestylers went out there and made like 9 different lines go in every direction and stuff.
well, now you get like those metal ramps just in the random desert,
Yeah, right.
just sitting there.
I know what happened to the. Okay, so you're out training, you're doing your thing, and it's like kind of like a job, right? But then there's those times when you're out there just out in the pit, just
playing,
having fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden now everybody has a ramp.
Yeah.
And a truck. And okay, it's cool. They're doing some cool stuff, but I'm like, man, it's not the same.
No.
Do people ever go out in Southern California and still like ride in the hills and find like a really cool like tracks and stuff, or no?
Every winter, man. Guys still go to Ritchie Canyon in Beaumont, and I haven't been for probably a year or two. I've been getting more into, we find these little spots of land. We'll go on Google Earth and find just any open land out here.
That's a good idea.
And, yeah, and then we'll once it rains, we'll head out and try to cut something in.
Nice.
But there's a little small group of us that go, and I'm kind of past the big jump thing. I just want to cut in like a really badass grass track and moto.
Right.
Nice.
And so we're still getting that in every winter. There's still enough little plots of dirt here and there that we're still having fun.
I think I've seen some of that stuff on YouTube that you guys have done. Actually, we're out there with AC and GL.
Yeah. Adam came with us. Yeah.
That looked freaking awesome.
What was it?
Just a big grass track they cut in the side of a hill. It was badass. Dirt was all dark. It looked like you guys were in Montana or something.
I'm telling you, that dirt is so good.
Right.
So deep. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and Adam was freaking like dragging bars. The kid was on.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he might have been on a 450. I think I don't even know if
he was on a 450 that day. Yeah,
because I was gonna say there's no way that was a small.
Yeah, that was during the break in this year's Supercross run.
Oh, right.
You know, when it was back east.
That's cool, man. We could talk about this stuff let's ask you a question. Just in case we get sidetracked again. You do a lot of stuff with Jimmy Button and the Road to Recovery, and I don't know if I told Justin we had Mike Young on the show the other day, and he's an awesome dude, and he's personally helped me a lot with some of the injuries that I've had, and he's just a good resource for me. And the foundation is fantastic. It clearly helps a lot of people. And you and Justin did a project with Racer X, and obviously these big dogs right here, the 92 and the 93. One of the specific questions I have before we get into how cool Road to Recovery is, I still don't understand how you guys held on to those things. Like that video, it looked like those things were literally going to toss you off the back if you even gave it the half throttle.
No, they weren't that bad. I wish we could have gone to like ridden the main track.
Right.
We were on the vet track that day, and I think we'd have probably had a little more fun on being able to open up a little bit more on the main track. But
right.
Oh, because it was too tight.
It was tight-ish. I mean, they had some nice rolling turns, and which was cool. You know, there's a couple guys blow up, but it was okay.
Yeah. They're not that tough. You just, as long as you respect it, you know what it can do.
Right. You have to. They're so fast.
Did you have you ridden any other Project 500s or anything like that, like a Cowie or anything?
So that same exact day, Sonny Garcia had come out, and he built the most incredible 500 I'd ever seen. He probably had about
35 grand.
That's what he said, right? If he was going to sell it, that's how much it would have cost.
Holy!
It was amazing. Dude.
Yeah, he had like a Works KYB forks. Was it an Olin shock, Justin?
Yeah. He had cone pipe built. The silencer was built.
A cone pipe.
The gas tank.
For a 500?
Gas tank.
Yeah, it was
handmade aluminum swing arm.
Yeah, the swing arm was handmade too. That's right.
Titanium, everything. It had a recluse clutch in it.
Yep, that's right.
Holy smokes!
I mean, it was beautiful. Brand new W wheel set.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be in the next issue of Racer X, so you'll see it. We're putting it in.
You got to cruise it?
I'm like,
so I got to do the test on it, and it was.
I'm like, don't drop
unreal.
that thing, Dave. Don't drop it.
Right, it's like a Mercedes.
You have to refinance your house.
Jesus.
No, it's the easiest 500 I'd ever ridden. I mean, for one, you never worry about stalling it with that recluse.
Right.
But just the way the power came on and the suspension, it handled like a race bike. I mean, it was badass.
Right. It looked great.
So that's a pretty bittersweet deal for us because 2 weeks afterwards, Sonny tried to kill himself. And he's still trying to come back from that. So pretty sketchy deal. And that bike now has been repoed by his ex-girlfriend, and it's kind of an ugly story. But
well, we hope
we
hope that he can get back to having a good life.
Yeah, we all do. Yep.
Well, let's transition into some happy stuff then. So Mike helps a lot of people. Jimmy helps a lot of people, and their road recovery organization is really, really beneficial to not just the motocross industry. I race professional off-road, and I'm not going to do it anymore because of an injury that I just had. But he just reached out to me. Like he was there to help. Like that's it. And we're talking about you guys being there to help, obviously in your occupations, and you're still doing even more. You're going above and beyond to help the road to recovery, and this project helped them. How did you and Justin come up with that idea?
Gosh, did you call me about it, Justin? I can't remember how it got started.
We got to chatting about it at that Fire Police GP.
Oh, that's right.
That's when we got the wheels kind of turning, and then it just started clicking from there. To be honest, I mean, it sounded kind of crazy to me at the beginning, but I'm like, we can do this. And then I got, you got me hooked in with Jay Clark, and then the next thing I know, the wheels are turning, and I'm like, oh damn, I got 3 months.
Better kick it into high gear.
Yeah,
huh?
this is gonna have to be fast, but it was good though, man. It was probably one of the better things I've done in a long, long time. So it was cool.
Well, and so explain a little bit about the process and what you guys went through, and how you're able to help the road to recovery.
So, Dave, you know more about the road to recovery than I do, obviously. So,
yeah. Well, so I work with that foundation for the Whiskey Throttle show. All of our live shows, we donate all those proceeds to them. And I'm just a big believer in giving back, and it's just an easy way for us to give back, and in this project, when he mentioned it to me, anything that we do that's two-stroke these days, people can't get enough of it, man. The views are through the roof, and 500s are so rare. They're just tough to find.
They're
and
like unicorns out there.
yeah. So when he said, hey, I've got these two 500s, I just went, let's do it. It's easy. That's a no brainer. And I know he's thinking, well, where am I going to get, where am I going to get the parts and all this stuff? But I know what Jay, the companies he's connected with, and what we're, as long as we can get videos built and get some press for him, he's able to get all that stuff, mostly free. So I got those two connected and got parts coming, and Justin did all the heavy lifting early on. And I think you came over and Jay helped you finish up. Yeah.
Yeah. I brought basically the bikes it was semi-finished product. We needed the wheels built and the graphics, but everything else was done. From more or less from the ground up, and then just some little things we needed to kind of finish up. The wheels were laced in California, so I just took the bikes down there, dropped them off at Jay's, and he took over from there. We went back a couple weeks later and shot the video.
You guys make it sound easy, but I know that there was lots of people involved, and just to hear that culmination of people, to be able to see, okay, well, Dave's got resources, you've got resources, you're going to put in the work, everybody else is, and to have all of those people with one mindset that's going to be giving back to the departments and to the road to recovery and helping grow those things is so freaking awesome. Like, there's hardly anybody that thinks like that nowadays, dude.
Truth.
No, like Dave was saying, I mean, we both want to give back, to a certain extent. So at the same time, without sounding selfish, it helped me out too in my situation. So it allowed me to to focus on the good and not the bad.
Well, yeah,
you
but
know
look
what
at the other people. So clearly it helped you. It helped road recovery and
Right.
stuff. But they saw the benefit for you too, and they saw how much it was going to be worth it in the end. Like I said, man, you got to be really. You guys both have to give yourself a pat on the back here because that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
No matter what work you did. Resources that Dave lined up, the video stuff that he did, editorials. I don't know what his role was, and I know your role was building the bikes. And
Dave's a pretty face.
Jay and Jay obviously came in and helped a lot. But there was also people that you probably didn't even talk to that actually helped too.
No, there was when I was over at Jay's place. I mean, he had guys tearing the bikes down as we were unloading them. I mean, so there's a lot of people that were involved, and we didn't miss a beat. The filming went super easy, and it was a lot of fun, and wouldn't change a single thing about it.
That's cool,
it was
man.
awesome.
I just think it's great that you guys are giving back like that. So
And
props to you guys.
someone's gonna get a good chunk of money that Dave and I put together some stuff so they could receive it. You know what I mean? So,
Well,
Yeah. Have you ever heard back from the guy that bought it? Has he ridden it or anything?
yes. The guy's name's Tim. He's out of Buffalo, New York. We've been kind of keeping in touch.
Okay.
So he rode it for the first time, and he went 2 laps and stalled it. And Tim, if you're watching, I'm going to tell your story a little bit, so don't get mad. And then he couldn't start it. So
Like the rest.
Need to rejet it
90%
or
of
something?
yeah, he didn't jet or anything. When I told him, I said, "Why don't you ride it and see how it's going to be jetted?" I got a feeling it's not going to be jetted perfect because it was jetted good for Arizona and California. But anyways, long story short, he couldn't get it started, and he said the 2 laps that he rode it, he overjumped one of the jumps by like 10 feet or something, like a big tabletop. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll work on that when we get it running again, apparently. But so he ended up saying that there was no spark or something wrong with it. Those bikes are hard to start, right? Truth be known, Dave.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to start them. And I honestly think that if I could have been there, we would have got it running, and he would have been able to ride it another day. But I don't think I've actually sent him a text step by step on how to start one of these big monstrosities, and there is a way to start them. And they don't want to start sometimes. You're kind of in trouble. So anyways, Tim replaced all the electrical stuff inside this bike. And now he texted me, shot me a picture of it running. He's like, I got it bump started, but I still can't kickstart it. So I'm like, bud, if you replaced all the
There probably was nothing wrong with it. He just didn't.
he said he said they were dirty. I'm like, well, let's remember this is 1992 when this thing was made, and I didn't replace everything because we didn't have time. So the stuff that worked, I left working, right? But now that that's all been changed, we know it has a spark and we know that it starts. So I'm thinking that he probably is running it a little bit richer than it should be.
Yeah, you got to lean it out. It's in New York.
And there's a way to start it, and they're hard to start. I remember when we were doing the Christmas GP on the starting line, I wouldn't shut it off because this thing doesn't start.
Yeah.
So I'm literally running, keeping it running while everyone's
Half
quiet
hour.
talking. I'm like, blum, 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 blum. And Dave's
You're
just
that
shaking
dude?
he's just shaking his head. I'm like, sorry, dude. But so anyways, long story short,
Like a semi.
Yeah,
I
you
think
let it idle
Tim,
overnight.
Tim redid the bike and he's good. And
Justin goes riding on Monday, and then his next moto's on Thursday, and he just leaves it idling in the garage.
so funny story. I'm like, I killed that thing 3 times the first time I raced it at Glen Helen. I stalled it 3 times. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever been involved with, right? So I turned the idle up so it idles, which I've never done in my life. And then it doesn't stop. So
In the corners, just carry.
So it goes from I'm killing the motor to it's not stopping, and I'm like, oh man, this is a nightmare. I'm respecting the David Bailey, Rick Johnson,
Yeah.
Jeff Ward. I'm like, these guys are warriors.
With 1993 brake technology.
Yes, drum brakes. I'm like, good lord. Yeah. So going down Glen Helen, I just stopped using the front brake and the clutch and was just monkey gripping that thing so I wouldn't fly off of it. You know what I mean? Just pounding on the rear brake and trying not to kill the motor. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
It was like Comedy Central out there.
Well, yeah, like I said, thank you guys both for doing all that stuff with Road to Recovery. We're going to try to see if we can help Mike out one of these days, too. Mike wants to get a mountain bike that he can ride, too. So we've been looking into seeing if we can help him and get him out there on the trails.
He needs to connect with Doug Henry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I watched that episode. I watched that episode, and Doug's a badass, man.
On YouTube, right?
Yeah.
What a stud.
Yeah, well, so he was out here when he did our show. He was out here for some big mountain bike national at Big Bear, and Joe Lawwill. You remember Mert Lawwill from Hunt Any Sunday and all that.
Hey, sorry to
His
interrupt you,
son,
Dave, but if you want to throw shouts outs, Ted just logged in watching. Ted Campbell.
What's up, Ted?
Teddy.
That's the famous rear end design of all basically.
Lawwill design.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mert's a genius, but his son Joe is the guy at Shimano now, so he's involved heavily in the bike industry. And anyway, Joe was following Doug down the hill and said he couldn't keep up with him. Mind you, Joe used to be a professional downhiller, so like that's how fast Doug is going downhill on a bicycle. It's an electric bike, obviously, for the flats and stuff.
What a
but
stud.
I want to see this.
It's on YouTube.
You can look it up on the race on YouTube.
That's when I saw it.
I saw Dave interviewing Doug. I mean, clearly he's a badass.
Literally, there's the guy with the GoPros following Doug, right? Down, and he's hauling ass.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you just look it up, search it on YouTube. Doug
Is
Henry,
it a 3-wheel bike?
No, it's not 3-wheel bike.
No.
It's a 2-wheel bike, right? And he's
It's
sitting
basically
down.
like looks like a tractor seat that's mounted on a bicycle, and the seat itself has a little shock absorber, and then the bike has suspension, so it kind of lets him not hurt his back, right? Because he's sitting the whole time.
Right.
But he hauls ass. It's not like he's just coasting down. Like he's getting it.
Full Doug Henry style.
Awesome.
I loved that guy when I was a kid.
Well, why do you think I'm number 19?
Well, good reason.
Yeah.
Should have been number 8. He was number 8 first.
Oh, I failed. I was too little, man. I only knew it was number 19.
I fell in love with him when he was number 8. Actually, I liked him when he rode for DJY Yamaha.
That's when I first saw him, I
31,
think.
right?
Yeah.
It's number
Going back.
31.
It was.
He was
31,
on Button's
yeah.
team. Button was 46. That was 1991.
What a cool guy. Well, thanks for telling me
Button
that,
was
Dave.
39, wasn't he?
Was he 39?
I think he was 39.
Yeah, he
Button
might be
was
right.
39 because I
Maybe
was
he had-
39. 339.
Yeah, he might have had two years ago. Yeah.
Is that
Anyway.
when you picked number 39?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy was 46 one year, wasn't he?
I don't remember that. Can't tell you that.
I feel like
Maybe his
I had
first
brain
year at
surgery,
Beach
remember?
because he was there 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
He rode those good.
how did national numbers work way back? Because I feel like you had a bunch of different numbers. Jimmy,
It's a point system the way it works. How many points you
well, now I
develop
feel like
is
they
how-
don't move around as much, though,
Well,
right?
you can do your own numbers.
Yeah, but now it's more
No,
NASCAR.
what's changed now is they allow 125 Supercross points to count towards a national number. That never used to be the case. It used to be 250 Supercross, and then 125 and 250 outdoors, and that was it.
Oh,
The 125 Supercross classes were considered regional series, and so they didn't give you overall points. About 6 years ago, they changed that rule, which pisses me off because I'd have probably had a really low number if they would have been doing that back in my day.
Right. Your heyday, huh?
So yeah, that's why. And then anybody that's top 20 overall in points can pick a permanent number.
and that doesn't matter if you have, let's just say, 300 points from the 450 class or 250 points from the two. You're ranked all together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. So you could go, well, if you didn't point out, you could go back down a class, earn a bunch of points, and then get a better number?
Well, there's
No, I don't
point
think it
out
works.
rules for the 250 Supercross class, so you can't drop down. But the Nationals, I mean, you can ride the 125 or 250 class as long as you want. I mean, look at Lammy and Henry. Those guys can race it. You can always drop back down and race that 125 national class.
Right.
They're both considered national championships.
Well, with Motocross of Nations just being this last weekend, did you get to see any of it, or do you hear about any of it?
Yeah, I caught the highlights. I didn't get up early to watch. I kind of saw the writing on the wall with the rain coming.
It was nasty. You couldn't barely see the track anyway.
You got to give those guys a pat on the back for going over there a month early and trying and stuff, though. That's a real good, solid effort.
I thought we had a solid team, just not our situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sand and the mud. And
I saw Justin Cooper and Anderson got into it the first moto, but after that, Justin Cooper was going around the track. He didn't have a clutch, and he was ripping ruts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the mud was so deep that he was just going out of a corner, and bike just sucked in the front wheel and just threw him over.
Yeah, that's mud right there.
Yeah, can you imagine riding in that much mud? And it was raining so hard, your cameras couldn't even see the track either.
No, I used to Ponca. We'd go to Ponca every year, and I was like, "Come on, don't rain."
Dude,
You know what I mean,
the only year I went to Ponca, it was dry. Perfectly dry.
Should have taken you every year.
I remember. I think we went with you. We parked with you, and Taylor came with us.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to blow you out, but we were at a restaurant, and you just lifted up and lit this little girl up, like flew one out on her, dude, so hard. She started crying in the restaurant.
That doesn't sound like me at all.
No.
Maybe I had
Talk
cramps.
about memories, Dave. Seriously.
Dave, we could talk
You were
about.
born to be a fireman, Justin.
I was just thinking that.
Oh,
I
man.
guess.
So I don't remember how I did that weekend. I didn't remember that, though.
Oh, God.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dave. I really appreciate it, man. So 2 last questions, kind of like how you end your show. What's in the future for Dave Pingree?
Well, what's in the future? I just like to kind of keep cruising. I mean, I love this job. I'm probably in the next year or 2, we'll start looking to promote up to engineer. The Whiskey Throttle show's sort of gotten some speed built up, and I'm going to just keep rolling with that. We've got some cool new stuff that we try to keep improving. Like our website sucks right now, so we're giving somebody to revamp that. And we don't have a Facebook account.
If the people that join our show haven't heard of it, the Whiskey Throttle show is an awesome motocross show. Dave and Grant Langston host the show, and they got some awesome people behind the scenes.
Legends, man.
They get really good interviews, and Dave does obviously a fantastic job, and the show is growing really well. So if you guys want to go check out his show, it's the Whiskey Throttle show. You look at it on YouTube, and they're on all the podcast networks and stuff too, right?
Yep. Yeah, and the YouTube thing is cool. Like I dig that you guys are doing the same thing. To me, it's nice to add that element to it where you can watch. Listening is cool if you're driving or whatever, but if you have the ability to watch it on a TV, I think it's just another layer of I don't know, like feeling like you're there more,
Yeah, and we love talking moto and stuff, but our show has got a totally different theme and a totally different audience, and we do a lot of off-road stuff, and just because of my story, we do a lot of stuff with Perseverance and things like that. So it's really cool to get these individuals that we've grown up with or idolized, and obviously people like you that are still in the industry and stuff. It makes me really happy to be able to have such a well-rounded group of friends in the network. Is just so cool, man. So you had a question?
Yeah, Dave. So every this is the burning question for me. So all us old moto heads, right? And we've ridden, you guys especially. I haven't ridden for a long time now, but you've ridden a lot of different bikes. One of them stands out for you. I know it does. For me, it's a 95 CR250. What is your 95 CR250? There has to be one.
It's my 2000 RM 125.
See, everybody has one.
And it's funny because Scott Burnworth actually sent me a text last week. He said, "Hey, I got this bike. It's a 2000 RM 125. It's in great shape. I was going to restore it, but if you want it, you can have it for what I got." He goes, "I got this thing for practically nothing. Just pay me what I paid for it, and it's yours." And so I swore after this we just did an 86 CR250.
Nice.
And I swore I'll never do another old bike, but I'm like, oh.
But isn't there one that throughout the years that you're like, that's the best bike for you for whatever reason? Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like it fit me like a glove. I couldn't make mistakes on that bike. It just was so comfortable to me. So
Yeah,
it was
dude.
fast,
I like it.
handled well. I don't know.
Mine's a 94 CR125.
I had that.
That was my bike,
Yours.
man. Yeah, I sold it to you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a guess for yours.
Well, yeah, mine's just going to be a 2010 CR 450 or
Oh, okay.
250. I mean,
I
but
figured it was a 96 YZ125. 98.
the problem with my bikes though is I never had enough money to get a mod. They were all stock. I barely had enough money to get the suspension done. So, they were never that impressive, no matter what I could get. So when I got that 2010, even though I wasn't able to ride that good, I got that it was like, hello, this thing is just night day different than what I'm used to. So, for me, that was my favorite one.
Cool, man.
What? And yours was what one? Which one?
94 CR125.
That's a pretty cool bike too.
That was my rookie year.
So
that thing was
are you
squirrely
going to
as
plan
hell.
on rebuilding that bike then?
Probably.
So Dave, I have a 2003 R125 sitting in my garage right now. Are we talking about doing another build?
Twinsies.
Dude.
It
It's
runs.
a 2003 CR125.
RM125 Suzuki.
See, they changed them in 01, and I didn't care for them.
And so yours was the one that had that big yellow.
I'll ride the 03. You ride the 2000.
Yeah, we'll have a
In which
battle.
race though? What race are you gonna race though?
We're not going to battle very fast because I'm 200 pounds or more.
Well, all right.
What race is this gonna
Figure
be?
it out. They have a 2-stroke class at the Fire and Police Nationals.
I know.
now.
I'm riding my 500 in that. That's coming up
are
this
you gonna?
next weekend. Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to roll around.
Dude, I have
you
a
coming
feeling
out?
that 2-stroke class is gonna be
I was going to see if you
huge.
wanted to come out. It's on. It's the 6th and the 7th, I think. Next Monday, next Tuesday.
Yeah. The guys just hit me up about it. I'm off.
Let's go.
7th and 8th. Yeah.
So it sounds like I'm going to see you there.
I've got a 125. That's all I have. I got a YZ 125 that I can bring out.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
David and Goliath.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to finish, so you're fine. Don't worry about me.
You can get the whole shot, and I'll finish strong.
Right.
How about that?
I'll just let you
right.
know. I'll just wave you by. Go ahead. Second lap's done.
You can just roost Mario Kart at him.
Yeah. Throw banana peels at me.
Yeah, right. No, but we're going for sure.
That sounds cool.
All right.
I'll call you. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll end it whiskey throttle show style. What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, definitely not as the guy who snapped his bike in half, which is.
Hey, we try to
sort of
avoid that
become
question.
Yeah, you brought that up.
Nobody
Yeah,
said
one
we
said
didn't do it,
We
dude.
all saw it.
We
I
didn't
know,
do
but that's like the low light / highlight of my racing career. Oh, I remember you broke that bike in half. It's like, yeah.
I watched
Yeah,
all the
sure
dads
did.
grab
Yep.
their cell phones
Good times.
and sell their kids 125s that own KTMs. Their phones are going off like crazy.
Oh man, I think we're getting a call here, boys.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave.
Go save the world, man.
You bet. Hey, great being on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
bet,
when
buddy.
you get a chance, text me and the address, and I'll send these pants out to you.
You got it. All right,
All right,
boys.
buddy. Later,
Yeah.
Dave. Thank you.
Later, bud.
Well, thank you very much to David Pingree. That was really awesome talking shop with him, and I'm glad that he was able to stay on so long and hang out with us. It's so crazy to think, like, before you came in and before we started talking to him, my brain didn't even have any of those memories on the surface. And all of a sudden it's like,
cool.
oh, and I just want to keep going. And we got a comment from one of our buddies, John. He said, watching you guys there is like being at the track back in the day.
I'm
so
sure.
It's really kind of cool to see that. What,
Chris Moon, Ted Campbell.
yeah, a bunch of guys that we used to
guys?
race with. So hi guys, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks
It's
for
really
tuning
cool
in.
that you guys get to join us in something like this. Maybe that's what we should do one day. Like if the podcast keeps going in the next year or so, if we
have
do
a
it in a
bench
remote
racing?
look, yeah, maybe we'll just go up to Phoenix and we'll get a bunch of the guys that come in from California and we'll all have a
I'll get a hold
reunion.
of some guys up there that we used to bang with. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. Well, I appreciate Dave and all the stuff that he's done. I know that
He's a great ambassador for the
Yeah.
sport. He really is.
and some of the things that you and I talked about during the week, like his answers were really, really good. Like,
He's smart, dude.
not only is he smart, but he's like he said, he learned how to be humble and giving back and the things that his family taught him and stuff like that. We talked about it already on the show. There's very few people that do that these days, and it's good to see that kind of stuff. Especially, he's happy. He's a happy dude.
Yeah, he's
Like,
doing well.
Yeah, you ask those questions. What do you want to be remembered by, or what's in the future for you? He's happy. He just wants to keep going.
Yep.
Like he doesn't need to be the next winner on the podium anymore.
No, man, he's grown up.
Yeah.
That's good. We all got to do it.
So
Right.
that's cool. And I want to thank both of you guys. Like I said at the beginning of the show, so awesome to
Anytime, bud.
see you sitting here, to see how you guys deal with your family and all the good stuff, man. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And the next time you go out and cruise this thing, if I'm anywhere near, I'd like to come watch
I'll call you next time I take it out. Well, next time I take it out, it's going to be
in
San
California.
Bernardino, but
yeah.
after
Well,
that,
you'll
we'll-
have videos and stuff, so I'll be able to watch it from there. But next time you do take it out, maybe if you go out to the local track or something, I'll come out and watch you guys and
Come
stuff.
on, man. Let you
So-
turn a few laps on it.
Oh, I don't know about that. My mom might have a heart attack if I do that.
Yeah, that's right. Just, hey, Just kidding.
Yeah. So I had a cage, and I still managed to get hurt.
Yeah, got all mashed up.
So, yeah, it might not be the best idea, but I would definitely like to come watch and see you ride and stuff like that.
Anytime,
So
bud. You're more than welcome.
One last thing. Do you remember the motocross cards, baseball cards?
okay. Yeah.
I still have all mine.
Do you really?
I have all of them.
I cannot find mine.
I have mine in a scrapbook in little sleeves
Oh,
where
man.
they're mint.
You still have the gum? Mm-hmm. The petrified gum?
Yeah, well, it's like I had to throw one out because it was crumbly, but
When we were talking to Mike a couple weeks ago these names are coming up, Jimmy Gaddis and these guys, and I'm picturing these old cards, and I'm like,
dude,
man,
there's so many guys in there.
I was raiding Dad's change drawer, to
Go buy the cards. Yeah, they came out so that was in '91 when they had that full set of cards that came out.
Right.
And then they didn't do one. I don't think. Maybe it was like they skipped a year and came back.
I think you're right. I think
and
it was
it
twice.
was a little different, and
It
I only
was.
got half of the second little
Okay.
thing of them. But at that
But
time,
we all remember them.
Yeah, at that time I was like,
So I can't find them, but do you guys
Grown
wanna,
up.
I can't find them, but do you guys want to play cards later? No, I legit have the whole collection.
I do too.
Nice.
All put together, all nice in a binder and stuff too.
Yeah,
awesome.
mine just
I
like
need,
yours.
I need
Yeah.
some pictures. I want to see that.
I've got
Okay,
a bunch
cool.
of old school stickers, so like Doug Henry, McGrath, like the old Troy Lee stickers that they made of those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I've
yeah,
got
yeah.
I have
those
Steve
too.
Lamson one of those too.
I might. I don't know.
How
if I'm-
cool is that, dude?
I got Sebastian Tortel. I got.
Oh, really?
I got a bunch of cool ones. Yeah.
Dude, that's so rad.
We're so old.
Yeah.
For real.
Sorry, guys.
These kids are like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the show deserves to be that well-rounded. Maybe
It
not,
is-
but
it's
for
got
real.
some rounded on it for sure.
Well, like I said, thank you guys very much. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you guys for watching. We can't do it without our sponsors for helping us keep this show alive. Let's share this thing. Let's get it going. I know Justin and Casey are going to go home and share it. Let's all you guys share it too, and we'll just see if we can have better shows in the future. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you, Casey. You guys are both badasses in life and on dirt bikes. I still look up to you
You
guys.
as well, man.
Same to you,
You as
buddy.
well.
So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Episode 7 is a wrap. Next week, we have Mike and Danielle Gardner and Dakota Sibler. Both going to come on the show. Mike and Danielle race off-road. A husband and wife team. They do some awesome stuff in their Polaris Razors. And Dakota is a young girl that's trying to get, her off-road prowess in. She races a dirt bike now. And so we can't wait to have them in. It's going to be a really awesome show. We will see you guys next week. Peace.
Take care, guys.
You've been listening to The Dirt Life Show with George Hamill and Cody Sanders. No desert tortoises were harmed during the production of this episode. However, a cat threw up and somebody shot a duck.